This should do nicely for now. Oh, who am I kidding? The battle was pure chaos. No one even knows I'm out here. I'll freeze to death if I don't bleed out first. Well, I can try to deal with the bleeding out at least, now that I don't have to walk anymore. A spear in the leg was not how I wanted today to go. There. Hopefully that should staunch it. And now... Thank the gods I still had this potion. I have my doubts that it will be enough, but it's all I have. I suppose I can rest now that I'm out of the weather. Oh, a dragon. You don't look happy. I'm sorry to intrude, but do you suppose you could see your way through to allowing me to die with some dignity up here on this mountain? No. Fair enough. And so I'll meet my end in the jaws of a dragon. Ironic. Oh. I'm not dead. How am I not dead? Oh, you didn't eat me after all. And I'm not cold anymore. Did you drape your wing around me to keep me warm? Well, thank you. What am I saying? You can't reply to me. I don't know if you even understand me. Can I come closer? Hello there. It's a bit cramped in this little cave for you, isn't it? Not to mention the human hunters would kill you on sight if they found you. Why have you got your other wing all tucked in like that? Are you injured? May I see? Oh, that wing looks bad. What happened? Arrows. Human. Some tore clean through the wing, some are still stuck in here. And dipped in a potion too, if I'm not mistaken, so the injury can't heal. Oh, you poor thing. That must be so painful. Let me see. I don't have any potions or supplies, but I've built up a bit of magic while I was unconscious. Nothing fancy, I'm no healer, but the fact is, if you leave this alone, it will take months to heal, and you may not regain use of the wing. If you let me at least try, I know I can remove these arrows and the enchantment, and perhaps if I'm lucky, I can start knitting the flesh back together. The wound is fresh enough that it might be able to make a difference if I do something now. And besides, you can't stay here in this cave through the rest of the winter. Sourcing any kind of food would prove problematic. Will you let me try? Blink twice for yes. Alright then. This might sting a lot, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't reflexively bite me or anything like that, okay? It would certainly put a damper on my efforts if I were to be eaten. Bear with me. I thought every dragon shifter in the kingdom was down on that battlefield. I suppose you might have been down there amongst the masses, but I think I would have noticed another shifter. And I've met many regular dragons as well. Thought I'd encountered every dragon in the vicinity, but I don't recognize you. I've never seen this coloration on a dragon before, so you're not from around here. You must be from the northern continent. Well, shifter or not, I suppose that makes you lucky. That means you're far removed from this war and the related political mess. Shall I tell you about it? The long and short of it is, for the 10th time in as many centuries, humans want to be rid of magic. And who can blame them? The entire continent's past leaders ruled with terror and magic in turns. It's no wonder they want all magic wielders to suffer. The last few generations haven't been like that, of course, not since the alliance and subsequent royal marriage between a shifter and a human. But the revolutionaries, represented mostly by humans, want the nobility to pay for that blood with blood, even if it's been 200 years. And you would think the magically gifted could protect themselves. Sadly, the infighting has left us vulnerable. There's a major rift in between two groups of shifters, headed up, respectively, by the Dragon Clan and that of the Griffins. The latter are hungry to retake control of the entire southern continent. They have enough backing to pose a threat, but only just. The dragon shifters and their allies, however, are in favour of peace and survival. With every battle we lose more and more of our kind, and unlike the Griffins, we refuse to augment our numbers by turning unwilling participants. Sorry. At first we all lived in harmony, but the Dragon Clan offered protection to the smaller groups, wolves, avians, dolphins. Griffins took offence to this alliance. They're purists, if you will. They saw it as muddying the waters unnecessarily. They believe in keeping our magic pure, and if any one group is too weak to sustain themselves, it is their opinion that that group should die off. While the two groups of shifters weaken ourselves with petty skirmishes, the humans draw ever closer, raiding villages, killing us off one by one, and preparing to overthrow the current rule. I suppose I should explain the us part, especially since I may yet die up here. Someone may as well know. I'm a shifter myself. A commander, in fact. I'm just too drained to shift right now, and I will be for quite some time. I was off fighting in the valley this morning. We were winning the battle, but towards the end I took a spear in the leg, got cornered. Rather than let myself be taken prisoner by humans, I used what was left of my energy to shift and fly away. I lost a lot of blood, though, so I passed out mid-flight, crash-landed here in the snow, and shifted back to human form. When I came to, I limped my way up into this cave in hopes of finding a quiet place to assess my situation, or slip away quietly, as it were. I may have hope yet, though, thanks to you and your humble abode. Last one. All right. Now for the healing. I'll do my best, but this still may hurt. There you go. That should do nicely. Haven't had a nosebleed like this in quite some time. Then again, I'm usually attempting magic with a great deal more of it in reserve. And you are just sitting there blinking at me. Don't worry, I'll be all right. I'll just need to sleep again in a while. Don't move the wing for a bit. You'll want to stretch it, though. Give it a couple of weeks before you try to fly again, all right? I'm just gonna sit here against your side for a while. You don't mind, do you? I thought not. After all, if you minded, I'd be dead already, right? Is this your dragon's hoard? Weapons, armor, and not much of it. A bit unconventional. Dragons usually keep gold and jewels and the bodies of their last victims, whether they be human or animal, and yet I see none of the usual decor. It's a disaster in here. Did you crash land into this cave? That shield. I recognize the crest. Where do I recognize it from? Ugh, my head is much too muddled to recall. Did you eat the previous owner of that shield? You know, this isn't exactly an ideal place for a dragon to settle down. It's freezing cold, nothing to hunt or eat. What could possibly have brought you all the way up here? A temporary hideout, perhaps? Well, unless you suddenly start talking, my ruminations serve no purpose. What a pair we make. Me, with all my currently useless titles, injured and weak, being propped up by an equally injured dragon, who is looking at me as though they understand my words and yet doesn't really communicate. Are we both trying to hide who we are, then? All right then, dragon, keep your secrets, and I'll keep mine. What the hell? It's my men. They're looking for me. Don't worry, I won't tell them you're here, but... Here, take this. It's mine. If you decide you need help, just touch it and think of me. It's enchanted, so I'll know where you are and we'll be able to assist you. Don't give me that inquisitive look. You and I both know that whether dragon or shifter, you've saved my life today. I owe you. If ever I can return the favour, use that to summon me, all right? Be well, dragon. Thank you for the kindness you've shown me.
Welcome, Your Highness. I trust your journey was a safe and swift one? I'm glad to hear that. The Queen is extremely grateful that you accepted our invitation. I am Ambrose, Chamberlain to the royal family of Zeteron. The reason you were summoned here, well, perhaps it best if the Queen tells you herself. Please, follow me. Oh yes, it's fairly common for the royal family to invite other royals and nobility to the palace. It's just not common for those esteemed guests to be from the, northern continent. Have you ever been to Zeteron before, Your Highness? What a pity. I hope that we have the opportunity to show you the best of our fair nation during your, visit. No. We won't be going to the throne room. The Queen has asked to meet with you in her personal study instead. The matter calls for a little bit more discretion than is usually afforded when the entirety of the court is within earshot. We're headed just through there. May I present to you Her Majesty, Queen Ava Lucia Cadmus, first of her name, ruler of Zeteron. Your Majesty, may I present the heir to the throne of Saphira, here at your request.
You are most welcome here. Please, make yourself comfortable. It is a pleasure to meet you as well. Please, let us dispense with the formalities. We're both royalty. No need for flowery language. Let us speak plainly, as equals. Ambrose, we're missing someone.
I shall fetch her, Your Majesty.
Now then, to the public eye, you've been invited here to visit the royal family and examine some artifacts in our possession, as well as spend time improving relations with the royal family. How very astute. Such frivolities are not common in times of war, which Satyron most certainly is embroiled in. Which brings us to the real reason I summoned you here. You're a powerful shifter. And not just any powerful shifter, but a dragon shifter. The fact is, my family is also dragon shifters. While other shifters do exist, the dragon form is rare and isolated to very few family trees. Your family line is known to skip 2 or 3 generations before the gift manifests itself. Is that right? Well, what good is being a queen if you can't leverage that power to get information? I'm only joking. There's a record of the Sephiran royal family in our library, as there is of every other royal family on both the northern and southern continents. When I was made aware that you were likely a dragon shifter, I searched that tome for more information about your family. By that look on your face, I assume you want to know how I knew about your gift in the first place.
I can answer that. Surprised to see me, dragon?
I believe you've already met my daughter, Rowan.
It is good to see you again. And see your human form. How's the wing? I'm glad to hear you can fly on it again. Injuries like that can be debilitating for life. I'm pleased you managed to make a full recovery. Yes, I am a princess. I didn't think it prudent or necessary to share that information at the time. I hope you'll forgive me. My full title is Her Royal Highness Princess Rowan Adelaide Cadmus II, Commander of the Airborne Shifter Forces and heir to the throne of Zateron. How do you do? It was the family crest on your shield that tipped me off. I couldn't stop wondering where I had seen it before. Once I was safely escorted home by my men, I took to the library and searched around for it. I knew you were from the northern continent, so it was easy to locate your family name. When I searched other resources and read the description of the family's shifting abilities and about the unique sapphire coloration of your dragons, it all fell into place for me. Your family has been operating quietly for quite some time. Political tensions in the northern continent. Yes, Mother and I have heard all about the history of your nation and the 5 nations that surround it. From what we were able to discern, there was an invasion of your home a decade ago, and while the Sephiran royal family survived, their resources were drained and many of their citizens left. Tell me, is that why you were hiding out in the southern continent, so far from home?
You were offered help then? And you trusted these nobles who wanted to make a deal?
Their claim to be supporters of your family would be a welcome one if true, but sadly it sounds as though they used your kingdom's desperation as leverage to lure you into a trap. Were they the ones that shot those arrows through your wing? Lucky you shifted when you did, or those arrows would have found their way into your heart. You defeated them as a dragon, then? Of course, you would have been injured and bleeding, an ocean away from your family or anyone you could rely on. It makes sense that you found the nearest shelter and stayed there in your human form, even if it did happen to be a small cave in a mountainside. So, when you heard me walking up to the mouth of the cave, you shifted then, didn't you? You wanted to hide your identity and scare off any intruders. Unfortunately for you, the intruder was the least likely person to be bothered by a dragon. It was kind of you to look after me in that state, even though your life was in danger and every moment you risked me finding out who you were.
Which brings me to my next point. You saved the life of a daughter of Zateron. Not just any woman, but the heir to the throne. I owe you a debt of gratitude. As such, I'd like to open my home to you whenever you need it. And I have a proposition to make.
Easy now, Mother, don't scare them off.
I'd like to offer you an alliance, and assistance restoring your kingdom to its former glory. Our resources will be made available to you in limited supply at first, but in full when the war is over. You're right to be cautious, and I confess this isn't purely offered out of the goodness of my heart. Elevating your kingdom doesn't just help you, it provides Zateron with a powerful alliance based on your northern connections, and your shifter blood.
What my mother means to say is that we need a show of force and unity more than ever before. An alliance to another dragon shifter, regardless of your kingdom's circumstances, would make a statement to the human revolutionaries who wish to unseat us. So you see, there is a stipulation to my mother's kind offer, but nonetheless it is an offer I hope you will take.
I haven't quite finished laying out my terms.
My apologies, Mother.
As part of the alliance, you will wed my daughter.
What?
This will cement you as a permanent ally, create strong ties between Zateron and the northern continent, and allow us to demonstrate unification and strength without any bloodshed. Dragon shifters in our family have married humans for the last 2 generations. So, while it's not unprecedented and not necessarily an open threat, it's a statement. One we need to make.
Mother, when were you going to share this part of your plan with me?
If I had mentioned this earlier, you would have made your disagreement known, then disappeared to the front and not returned for weeks. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong, though I feel I should have been informed regardless.
You are informed now. I do not suggest this lightly. I am fully aware of the personal sacrifice involved in an arrangement like this one. Take some time. Speak to one another if it would help. Please give me your answer by this evening.
So soon? Mother, can we talk about
This is my offer. I am making a decision with the best interest of my people at heart. And you should too. You're both dismissed.
Yes, my queen. Well, you look about as blindsided as I feel. No, I promise you, I had no knowledge of that particular piece. An alliance, yes, and having you train alongside me, absolutely, but marriage? I've made my feelings on that topic quite clear to her. It seems now she's using my love for my people to guide me into a match. Please don't take it personally. It's not you that I'm opposed to. You seem like a very nice person. You did save my life, after all. And you clearly understand this life, both that of a shifter and that of a royal. You've managed to keep your kingdom just above water despite being dealt a terrible hand, which is very admirable and bears the mark of a good leader. My mother is right. It's a smart political move. Marriage to another dragon shifter would secure our throne quite well, in addition to strengthening ties to the northern continent, which are in short supply. Saphira may be a small nation, but it once had excellent trade potential, and I see no reason why we wouldn't be able to build that back up again. You're right. It's the best option for both of our kingdoms, even if the two of us must adjust. I suppose I always knew this would happen. Most marriages are arranged in Zateron, and I had no reason to believe that I would escape tradition, but I had hoped I'd have more time. War does have a way of making things more urgent, doesn't it? No, I'm not angry with my mother. Surprised, yes. frustrated that she didn't see fit to share this plan with me before now. But I should have considered the possibility. When I came to her and told her I believed I had encountered another dragon shifter, I put the piece on the board. I can hardly blame her for putting it into play. I promise I was only hoping for a strategic alliance. Tell me, are you opposed to this plan of hers? You would do anything for your people, wouldn't you? Even marry a complete stranger a continent away. I suppose that gives us some common ground, then. Very well, I am in agreement with you. We may move forward with this in order to stabilize both of our kingdoms and ensure the longevity of dragon shifters as a whole. Know this, though, I have no expectations of familiarity or intimacy. If you wish this to be a business arrangement only, it will be so. As with all other monarchs before us, we will have separate chambers and our own privacy to retreat to. If something is to happen organically, then so be it, but I do not wish for anything to be forced, for either of us. No, we needn't worry about children. Here in Zateron, the next heirs are always humans, adopted by the current monarch, raised in their household and gifted with shifter abilities during a ceremony on their 10th birthday. Yes, that does mean we are bitten, albeit gently, by a massive dragon at 10 years old. Quite a humbling experience, really. No, Queen Ava is not my mother by birth. She and my father, the late King Owen, adopted me as a baby from an orphanage here in the city. It's a custom here, part of the arrangement made several generations ago to ensure that the common people were always represented. The royal line is never biological here. It also allows royals to marry anyone of any gender, which is considerably less limiting when choosing an appropriate partner and a good alliance. One day, when the war is over, we might adopt a child and raise it as the royal heir, but it is not a concern for today. And that is, of course, assuming that we are to go back into that room and tell my mother that we agree. All right, then. I suppose there's no point in delaying the inevitable. I will be the first to admit that I know very little about marriage, but I do understand political strategy, and with our common ground, I hope that we are at least able to become friends who mutually respect one another. It would be beneficial if we could also trust each other, rely on each other. But I am certain that will come with time. Behind closed doors, you may call me just Rowan, but as your royalty yourself, you'll understand when I ask you to address me as Your Highness in public. Very well, I shall do the same. I suppose our meeting was fated, then. May we both serve our people well.
Do I hear wedding bells, Your Highness?
Ambrose, don't tell me you knew about this before I did.
Your Highness, I know everything that happens in this palace, even matters such as this.
And you didn't think to clue me in? We've been in each other's confidence since we were children.
Which, Your Highness, is exactly why your mother terrifies me far more than you do.
Fair enough, I can't blame you for that.
Princess, for what little my opinion may be worth, I do believe that this is a good course of action.
You are one of the few people I trust, Ambrose, so I do value your input.
Shall I start by choosing the napkins and flowers for you?
You had better, for I haven't any patience for that. I leave the matter in your capable hands, and I'll let you convey to Mother that we agree to her proposition. Will you please see our guests to their chambers? I'm going for a walk. Oh, come on, Rowan, you can do this. Hundreds of royals before you have successfully handled arranged marriages, and hundreds more will do it after you're dead and gone. This is not a fluke, this is the natural order of things. You always knew this was likely to happen. It was just a matter of time. And besides, this isn't so bad. You've faced down fearsome enemies on the battlefield and recovered from plague. You've been commanding the airborne forces for over 2 years now. and they're a good match. They are kind-hearted for one, brave, obviously good at diplomacy and political strategy, or they would never have agreed to Mother's scheme in the first place. And, well, they are rather attractive too, aren't they? I'm sure you have enough in common to become friends, so stop panicking. This is going to turn out just fine. Get yourself together. Oh, Your Highness. Goodness, you startled me. No, it's all right. The garden is open to you too. You're not intruding. Yes, I'm fine. Well, I'll not lie to you. I'm struggling a bit with what I must do. What we must do. Talking to myself. Yes. Sometimes I need expert advice. Wait. How long have you been standing there? How much did you hear? Well, that is incredibly embarrassing. I promise I'm not usually this rattled. It's just that I worry. For some, both noble and common, marriage signals the end of whatever freedoms one might have had. And don't get me wrong, you don't give me the impression that you try to control every single aspect of my life, but I very much value my independence. And I don't know you that well, yet. Of course, that will come with time. Well, thank you for saying that. I look forward to being able to trust you, and I know I'm about to make vows in front of my entire kingdom, but I do promise you now that I will do whatever I can to preserve your personal freedoms as well. We will both have many responsibilities and will be expected to make many sacrifices, but I do not wish for you to feel stifled. If there is anything within my power that will help you, please do not hesitate to ask. But what brings you out here? Oh, I'm sorry for your struggle. You can't possibly be having an easy time with this either. On top of everything, you're far away from home. However, I must admit, it does soothe me a bit to know that we're of one mind on this. It will be easier to get through it together, I think. Really? For one who claims to be nervous, you're making an excellent show of being calm. Well, I suppose I was keeping a cool facade myself, at least up until I thought I was alone out here. You look very nice, by the way. One thing I can say, despite not knowing you well, is that you'll make for a very fine-looking spouse. Thank you. The dress was my mother's. Well, it is wartime after all. It may be a royal wedding, but I don't see the need to spend the kingdom's funds on a lavish new gown and excessive floral arrangements when so many of my people have had to flee their homes with only the clothing on their backs. I asked instead that the money go towards extra supplies for the refugee camps. And I asked that some of it go towards a small gift to your own country. Several shiploads of our famous wine to be distributed to their households back in Saphira as a token of goodwill. It's not much, I know, but I'm hoping to solidify the good opinion of your own people. Once this war is over, we will need their backing. No, my mother had nothing to do with that. I am quite capable of coming up with good political strategy on my own, thank you. My apologies. You came out here to be alone with your thoughts, and here I am rattling away. I will take my leave. But thank you for your kind words. Believe it or not, you've helped me find some comfort. And I suppose I will see you at the altar, Your Highness. Well, we are married. It was a nice ceremony. And a lovely dinner. You noticed that? It's hard to eat much while dressed in this. Not to mention there were too many eyes on us. I'm used to being in the public eye, but I felt that I was under additional scrutiny today. Yes, well, I'm just grateful no one insisted on joining us here. It's something of an antiquated practice, but there are those who would push for it anyway. Luckily, Mother stopped that request immediately. We may simply get to know one another at our own pace. I've got to get out of this dress. I can barely breathe in it. I hate to ask, but I'd rather not call the servants back. Will you help me with the buttons in the back? Thank you. You know, it equally amuses and annoys me that a wedding gown is more difficult to get in and out of than armor. You would think that attire that can withstand sword slashes, arrow strikes, and fire would be more complicated than this thing. But apparently yards and yards of lace and beadwork reign supreme in that territory. Yes, that's far enough. Thank you. I had the servants set out something comfortable for you to wear, just over there. I'm going to change and I'll give you a bit of privacy as well. By the way, that piece that you recited during the ceremony, I recognized bits of your continent's ancient language, but I couldn't translate it. What does it mean? That's nice. Sort of a marriage blessing, then. Is it a wedding tradition in Saphira? I'm grateful that you shared it today. Even if there weren't any delegates from Saphira to witness it, it was lovely. I look forward to learning more about your culture through our marriage, and I hope through our friendship as well. Are you decent? All right then. What is it? We're in shirts and trousers because I've planned to go out. With you, if you'll agree to come with me. I thought that given the circumstances, we should spend some time together, ideally away from the palace. And it's occurred to me that while I've seen your dragon form, you haven't seen mine. Fair's fair. So if you agree, I'd like to suggest a quick trip to the nearby mountains. It won't take us more than 10 minutes to fly there. I know a lovely spot where we can sit down and observe the entire sprawl of the city and see miles down the coast. It'll be a nice quiet place, away from everyone's eyes and ears. We'll transform just here, off of this balcony. Will you accompany me, Your Highness? Well, this is me. Can you hear my voice in here? Good. I did have some doubts about whether we'd be able to communicate mind to mind, but it seems that the gift is the same in both of our lines. It's actually a relief. Like Her Majesty the Queen, I am a southern alpine dragon, distinguishable by the ruby coloration of our scales and our slightly above average wingspan. While I am among others of my kind, you can identify me by the golden scales on my crest and legs, and the scar here on my face. Yes, I did get the scar while fighting as a dragon. It's a lot more noticeable in this form than when I'm human. My first battle. Suffice it to say, I was a bit too confident. I rushed ahead, eager for victory, and unintentionally put my warriors in danger. When I realized my mistake, I put myself between them and the enemy and took a few injuries in the process. But I learned my lesson. I've lost many in battle, but I've been more careful ever since. Please, join me. The night beckons. There you are, dragon. Resplendent as always. Follow me. Ah, that's better. It's quite a bit cooler up here. Yes, I do often sneak out to fly around at night. Not that it's a great secret. Most people notice a dragon flying around overhead, and most people can identify me specifically on the horizon, but no one is equipped to do anything about it. Her Majesty deems it a lack of decorum. However, she won't come after me herself, and if she or Ambrose sent someone on horseback to fetch me, it would take them a few hours to get here. By which time I would have already returned to the palace, so I've afforded myself the luxury of solitude. You're right, it's not solitude now, but it's also not bustling with servants. There aren't warriors at every turn seeking orders. Ambrose can't shoo me off to this event or that meeting or some such. I don't have to be Princess Rowan, I can just be Rowan. And I hope that you can just be yourself too. You mean, why am I sharing this place with you? Well, a few months ago, you saved my life. You didn't have to. You didn't know who I was, what I was. I would argue that, given what you had gone through, you had more reason to believe me a threat than anything else. And yet, you dragged my unconscious body further into the cave, out of the elements. You tucked me under your wing so I'd stay warm. You didn't snap at me when I was yanking arrows out of you, even though it must have hurt. You showed me the most kindness you could in that moment. Now, you are far from home, thrust into a marriage you didn't ask for. You've spent the last 2 weeks studying Tavern culture, training with the warriors, attending our war council, all the while handling it with extreme composure, I might add, just because I thought to bring up to my mother that you were a shifter as well. And I feel that the most kindness I can show you in the midst of all this is a place to retreat. A place away from prying eyes, a place that's safe, a place where I sometimes stockpile food and a bedroll in the interest of quieting my mind. We are both in way over our heads here, but we'll get through it together. And while I don't know that I can offer you my love just yet, you will always have my hand, and I will try to open up my heart to you. Oh, it's nothing, it's silly. It's just that, well, we kissed at the altar, but it was for show. 500 people witnessed the ceremony. It was more for them than for us. And I was wondering what it would be like to actually kiss you. With feeling. I would like that, yes. Well, go on then. Yes, I enjoyed it. What about you? Good. I don't know how they've done it either. Hundreds of arranged marriages across generations. One would think that someone among them would have written a tome on how to overcome the awkwardness. I suppose we'll sort it out, though. They all did, one way or another. Are you hungry? Pastries, fruit, and wine. I knew I wouldn't be eating much at the wedding, and I made a lucky guess that you wouldn't have much of an appetite either. Now, though, I'm ravenous. Which is why I brought up some food early this morning. Would you like to share this with me? There you are. A toast. To us, I suppose. Oh, this is a pleasant surprise. My scouts told me they'd seen a dragon flying into camp. I was hoping it was you. What are you doing here? I was under the impression that your obligations in the capital would keep you occupied for a few weeks at least. No, I am happy to see you, of course. It's just that, I'm not used to dividing my attention while I'm out here, and I honestly didn't expect you to seek out my company so quickly. No, I don't want you to go. Now's as good a time as any for you to see the front, and if I'm being honest, I was starting to wonder how you were getting on. Have you been waiting long? Shall I send for some refreshment? No, I usually eat with the other warriors around the campfires. I don't seek special treatment out here. My mother tried to insist on a lavish tent with all the amenities, including a private chef, but I squirmed my way out of that one by telling her that such a thing would make a perfect target for attacking forces. That's why this humble tent of mine is exactly like the others. And you are, of course, welcome to share it with me for the duration of your stay. Otherwise, I shall ask my men to set up adjacent accommodation for you. Very well. I shall have another cot brought in, and some furs as well. We'll join a campfire for the evening meal in a bit, if that suits you. What's this? Oh, and what does Her Majesty say this time? As I've told her, I'll update her when there's something to update her about. We've been managing to hold this valley well enough while we send out scouts and quell minor skirmishes, but I've had no further reason to write until today. So, how are things going in the capital? How are you settling into the royal family? Well, it's not entirely Ambrose's fault. He just makes sure that we keep our schedules. In reality, he has very little control over how full they are. I am sorry that you've had to make so many visits, though. I had thought that the shaking hands and kissing babies we did after the wedding would be sufficient for a while. It appears I was wrong. I see you come fully armed and in practical armor instead of the ornamental set. Does that mean you are joining me here in an official capacity? Long term? Good. I told my mother that I had watched you train and believed you were perfectly prepared for the battlefield, but General Xylan still had to give their stamp of approval before you could join me. It's more ceremony, really. Xylan may be very old and no longer an active general, but they served Zateron very well and were a brilliant strategist back in their day. Anytime someone rises into the highest ranks, they must oversee the process. Tell me, did they still proctor the examination in person? They'll never change. They made you nervous. I had to pass that examination at 15 years old. You'll get no sympathy from me. Has there been any news on the status of the refugees? I had worried about that. The numbers just keep rising. More and more people are being chased out of their villages, even for having minor magical abilities. I wish I could get away to oversee their care myself. I know I can be of the most help out here at the front, but my heart aches for those caught in the middle, and I've got my hands full here. You really went there in person? Did Mother sanction that? Well, that was bold. Oh, she probably will be a bit put out, but don't worry. If you did that as a kindness to me, I'll keep you shielded from her wrath. How are my people? That's consistent with what I've seen. Their spirits are broken. They're hungry, sick, exhausted. Their homes are either taken over or burned to the ground. That was very kind of you to go. I'm sure it lifted their spirits to see you there among them, helping them, distributing food, listening to their stories. It means a great deal to me that you went there. Not just as part of the royal family, but as my spouse, and as someone who cares deeply for them. Well, you're right, they are your people now. How I wish you could be introduced to them under better circumstances. But I'm pleased and grateful that you are meeting them on their level. It says a lot about you as a person, and as a future ruler. Oh. No, I'm all right. I've just spent most of the last few days either flying or walking, and my neck and shoulders bear the brunt of the abuse when I'm in full armor, I'm afraid. But I can't complain. I'm quite used to it. And you're the one who's been traveling all day. Wait, you flew all the way here on that wing? Well, yes, it's healed, but it's going to be incredibly sore tomorrow. I have a balm that helps with soreness. I don't suppose I could convince you to shift for me so I can put some on your wing. I thought not. Fine. Will you consent to me at least rubbing some into your back? It'll take the edge off, even if it's not quite as effective as applying it to your other form. Oh, don't be ridiculous. If you're going to be of help to us, I need you in peak condition. Good. Sit. How's that? Glad to hear it. Yes, I've been sleeping, but I can't honestly say I've been relaxing. I've been leading a reconnaissance team every day to look for human outposts, see if they're advancing from any particular direction. Nothing yet on that front. We did, however, find a convoy belonging to Griffin forces this morning. Most of them flew off upon her approach, but there was one injured one left behind who couldn't fly. We brought her back. Of course, as a prisoner. That does not mean we're treating her poorly. On the contrary, she's receiving food, a bed, and medical attention for her wounded wing. Well, yes, we do try to treat all of our prisoners with some degree of dignity, but especially this one. She's a child, 15 years old. Remember back in that cave, I told you that griffins augment their numbers by turning unwilling participants. Some of those victims are children. The Griffin King is not as compassionate as his predecessor, I'm afraid. In any case, we interrogated her. She was loath to talk, and no wonder, but after a bit of food and something for the pain, she let slip that we were stealing all the resources and causing her people to die off. I prodded a bit, and come to find out that the non-gifted revolutionaries are aware of some imbalance in magic, something that they're afraid of. They believe that as our strength grows, as our population enhances naturally, it's sapping the life force of those who don't have magic. They believe that we mean to continue growing and take their very existence captive. And from what she said, it's something that the Griffins knew about, which is why they mean to capitalize on it and take over the continent. Them declaring war on us only proved that the common people indeed had something to fear. I don't know. She was a bit incoherent and none too happy, poor thing. She originally was the child of human revolutionaries, and then was taken captive and turned during the Battle of Hester's Creek a few months ago. She has no love for either side of this, but I mean to find out more at a later date. I believe there is some truth to it, yes. You know as well as I do that every few hundred years something like this happens. Someone gets greedy, or the gifted population gets too large, and the common people rise up out of either fear or necessity or both, depending on the situation. I really can't be surprised that it's happening again. But it's hurting everyone. Lives lost on all sides, livelihoods destroyed. One family was driven out because their 8-year-old son could manipulate plants. Imagine driving out a child for having an ability that was only used to help his village grow crops. People are so afraid. I wish there was some way to end it, once and for all. Perhaps I can't fix the whole world, but I can give my all to fix Zeteron, and then Saphira. But if this is true, if magically gifted individuals are unknowingly drawing their power away from the life forces of regular humans, then something has to be done to rectify it. It's my duty, our duty. They're my people just as much as those who manifest magic. I would argue, even more so. I was born one of them, after all. I was completely ungifted when I came into this world, and if I hadn't had the good fortune to be hand-chosen when the king and queen came to the orphanage, I'd be suffering along with the rest of them. Perhaps this is why our line of succession is constructed the way that it is. To keep the leaders humble. There you are. That should help. What about me? Well, yes, I am sore, but I'm no stranger to that. You dare use my own logic against me? All right. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, that's heavenly. You were right, I needed this. Certainly. What would you like to know? No. Mother is kind-hearted deep down, but it's hard to see it sometimes. She's had to make unbearably difficult decisions in her life, and there wasn't always room for compassion to guide those choices. Sometimes it comes down to pure numbers. She used to be a commander like me, you know. Her own father lived a very long life, and as a result she was afforded a great deal of battlefield experience before she took the throne. She's a brilliant diplomat, and commands respect when she enters a room, as you've seen. My father? Well, King Owen was the second son of a noble who had grown up with the luxury of freedom. He was very good-natured, fun-loving, a bit of a prankster. He was the one who could afford to be emotional from time to time. When they married, she was the brain and he was the heart. Between the two of them, they covered all the needs of the kingdom. Mother allows my occasional breaches of etiquette because it reminds her of him. He was the one who invited me to sneak out at night, to get away from the palace and get a breath of fresh air. He would smuggle sweets into the library when I was stuck there for tutoring all day, and on one occasion, during a painfully boring event that I was quite sour about having to attend, he made faces at me from across the throne room so that I would smile. He encouraged me to go into the city with Ambrose when we were children, so I could experience how regular people lived. When I was a bit older, Father and I volunteered together at the orphanage where they originally found me. And during the ceremony, when I was turned into a shifter myself, my body began to go through those painful changes. He not only broke royal protocol to hold my hand, but he encouraged my mother to do the same. And I wasn't scared anymore. Between the two of them, I believe I was equipped rather well for my position. I do miss him terribly, but I try to live my life in a way that would make him proud. No, nothing like that. Royalty prepares for assassins, poison, death on the battlefield. They don't prepare for being thrown from a horse during an afternoon ride, or a fatal head wound. Thank you. It's been some time since it happened. I had to carry on, to honor his memory. Yes, that feels much better, thank you. Indeed, their marriage was arranged. My mother was originally meant to be wed to my uncle, but he planned to join the order and spend his life in quiet contemplation at the monastery. Thus, the honor and burden of becoming the next king fell to his younger brother, my father. My parents did find their way, despite their crucial differences in personality. They truly loved one another, which is why I have hope for us. Well, between caring for my people and caring for me in equal turns, you've proven your thoughtfulness. You speak your mind, which demonstrates your honesty, and you've let me see glimpses of very good humour, which to me is very important. I have no reason to doubt you. And I find you to be a very pleasant companion. I'm often alone with my thoughts out here, but it's surprisingly nice to have someone to talk to. I think I shall be glad of your company, especially as this situation escalates. Thank you. You can rely on me too. The next several weeks, even months, will be difficult at best. I want you to be honest with me about how you are doing and what you need. I'll do my best to provide it. Well, tomorrow we'll talk more to the girl. See if we can't get the location of the Griffin base out of her. If not, we'll turn her loose and follow her back to wherever she goes. Once we have that location, we'll try to arrange a meeting with the Griffins. I don't know if they'll agree to that, but I have to try. If there is anything I can do to alleviate the bloodshed, I will. But we can talk about that after you've rested. Come along. You've been travelling all day. You must be hungry. Come what may, I am glad that you're here. And I think we would be wise to move a quarter of the rations and supplies away from this camp and into the outpost 2 miles north. We've moved too much of our power into one place. Well, yes, that's the intention, whenever we plan to launch an assault, but we don't have the information necessary to do that, and as of right now, we are far too easy of a target. If you will, please speak to the quartermaster about moving supplies down the road with 24 men and a healer. They'll stay there until we call on them, and in the meantime, they can work on staging a small secondary medical facility. While you do that, I'm headed in to speak to the Griffin girl. I wouldn't call it an interrogation, no, but I am going to see if I can win her trust. Yes, you may join me, if you wish. I do ask that you allow me to do the talking, though. I'd like to pick up where I left off yesterday. I'd like to think I made some progress, yes. Time will tell.
You're back. Is this the part where you torture me?
Child, I don't intend to torture you.
I am not a child. I'm almost 16.
Are you really? I would guess you're closer to 13, am I right? I thought so. What's your name?
Braylon.
Please, Braylon, help me to understand what's going on. Yesterday you mentioned something that alarmed me a great deal. That your people, my people, are dying, and the only cause being that the magically gifted are unknowingly sapping the life force when they use magic. Share with me what you know about this imbalance of magic and about how the Griffins plan to wield it.
Why should I tell you?
I'm a princess. One day, the throne will fall to me, and when it does, I want my people safe, fed, and happy. And that can't happen if there are multiple threats assaulting that dream from all sides. If something is truly so wrong, then isn't it my duty to fix it? How can I resolve that which I know nothing about?
As if you would care, in your palace with your fine gowns, and your never-ending supply of food.
Those fine trappings mean nothing to me if I do not earn them by doing the task I was destined to do. My family only has power because it was bestowed on us by the people's consensus. How could I betray that? I confess I have never known true hunger. I've always had healers to attend to me when I was sick, and yes, I've had access to an excessive amount of finery. But I know what it is to lose someone you love. And I know what it is to be thrust into a power you did not ask for. If I can spare my people that pain, I will. Why do you think I am out here? You could be the key to stopping all of this.
What do you mean? I can't do anything. I'm just a village girl forced into magic.
As I once was.
What?
I was an orphaned baby from a village half a day's ride from the capital. The king and queen chose me from an orphanage to be their princess and heir, to their kingdom and to my mother's magic, as is tradition.
I didn't know that.
Of course not. It happened almost a decade before you were born. And I imagine unrest is all you've ever known. You've been at the heart of it all. Human revolutions, shifter wars. But if you can find it within yourself to trust me with what you know, I will do everything within my power to set things to rights, including lay my life on the line. Braylon, this is my oath to you. If you trust me with your knowledge, I will wield it like a weapon in honor of those you love, in memory of those you mourn, and in defense of those you still hope to protect.
And if I say no?
Then you're free to go.
What? You mean I'm not a prisoner?
Your injuries have mostly healed. You've been fed, and you've given us all the information you are willing to give. So you are of no further use to us. Guard, untie her, please. Give her a bundle of rations, a warm cloak, and a vial of ointment for her injury. A few crowns as well, so that she might purchase safe lodging on her journey. I trust you know to keep the excess money well out of sight.
Where should I go?
Wherever you'd like. Wherever you feel the safest. But if you find that you need my protection, seek me out and you shall have it. You may write to me or come in person, whichever suits you.
I don't understand. Why?
Because you are my subject, and my protection is the least you are owed. Now go freely. No, I don't wish to have anyone follow her. The poor child is frightened enough. She is my subject, and instead of feeling as though she could trust me to help her, she was frightened of me. This disconnect between the palace and the people has gone too far. No, I need some time to think. I'm going to take a reconnaissance assignment for the afternoon, fly around a bit to clear my head. Shall I meet you for the evening meal? Very well. I will. You be careful too. Hello. It went well, thank you. Nothing out of the ordinary. How did it go with the quartermaster? Really? What happened? Ah, I see. I know they may be a bit short-handed on healers, but it's just a secondary location. If we fall back, we'll bring more healers with us. I hope they didn't overload you with complaints. Did you? And what solution did you offer? Students? From the Healers Academy? You mean on rotation? Oh, you're absolutely right. There will be plenty of volunteers, none of them need to feel forced. And that far back, they'll be perfectly safe. Very clever. Now why didn't I think of that? I suppose you're right. I can't think of everything after all. May I sit beside you? What is it? When did it arrive? Oh, it hasn't been waiting long then. What does it say? Well, I appreciate that you have left me my privacy. Let's see. Princess Rowan, if you really want to make good on your oath, meet me in the cavern behind the old mill to the east after dark. Do not bring guards. Braylon. You know that I must. I'm sorry, but I will bring no guards. She said not to. I'm very well aware that it might be a trap, but I gave her my word. I'm not asking you to agree. I am simply asking you not to stop me. I cannot abandon my people, even if the situation is less than ideal. Safety. You talk of safety when I am literally at a battlefront, one that I've been managing since before I met you. Do you not think I'm capable of protecting myself? Yes, I did nearly die in that cave. So did you, in case you'd forgotten, so don't you dare use that against me. I do not wish to be at odds with you. And yet I cannot go back on my word, not when so much is at stake. Can we not come to a compromise? Please. And what is your condition? Come with me. No, I don't disagree. Technically, you are not a god, so I won't be going against her request. She's seen you, she knows we're married. And, well, 2 dragons is an unfair match for any foe. I doubt they'd even try it. Very well. We'll tell the men that you and I are going out, and tell them where we are going. If we haven't returned to camp by the morning, they are to come looking for us there. All right. We've got about 2 hours to kill before the rendezvous. How would you feel about taking our meal in here, just the 2 of us? In truth, I'm a bit exhausted, and a little peace and quiet would do me good before walking into whatever it is we're about to walk into. I appreciate that. I'm constantly wondering whether I'm doing enough. If I ask you a question, will you be brutally honest with your answer? I do not wish for you to spare my feelings. Am I being too soft-hearted? I mean, I try to lead with compassion before all else. But it seems that there are some who believe that I'm going soft, that me allowing Braylon to leave was reckless. But I just can't see any value in traumatizing a child, no matter how much she may know about the war effort. I let her go, and I'm planning on helping her now because the fear in her eyes was real. Because the pain she bore was tangible. Because I don't want to fortify my kingdom with the broken souls of its innocents. I recognize that in war sacrifices must be made, difficult decisions must be reached, unthinkable deeds must be done. But not to children. Not to the very future I'm working to protect. So I ask you, do you think I'm being too soft-hearted? Good. That's... Thank you. Yes, you may take my hand. I appreciate your help and your comfort, as always. I'm sorry about our disagreement. To be completely honest, I'm not certain how I ever got along without you before. To take my mind off it? I don't know. All right. Tell me about Saphira. Well, of course I know the facts, but they're things you'd find in a book or on a trade report. Help me to see Saphira through your eyes. When you think of home, what does that look like? When you say the trees are tall, how tall are we talking? Taller than the central tower. But I read that the Sapphire Keep's central tower was 15 stories high. No, we've nothing like that here. The tallest tree we have is in the square. You passed it on your way in. What else? I expect the view must be beautiful, watching the sun rise over the sea like that. Because of the peninsula, I've only ever seen the sunset from the palace. I think I should like to experience that with you. The quiet morning before anyone is awake, watching the day come to life over the water. It must be invigorating. Anything else? Oh? Well, you can't tell me about the food without telling me about your favourites. You know, I've never actually had pheasant. Then I look forward to it. Oh, that sounds delightful. Do they only make that during the summer berry harvest, or are the pastries to be found at other times of year? Well, hopefully our first visit lines up with the harvest then. I wouldn't want to miss that. Is it true that dancing is a weekly event during the summer months in Saphira? What, everyone? And they all dance together? Nobles alongside the gentry? No, not at all. I would love to see such a thing happen in Zateron. Of course. I imagine it's been difficult for your people to celebrate, what with the hardships they've endured. But fear not. After dealing with this absolute disaster of a war, fixing Saphira's economy will seem simple by comparison. It will come in time. It will mean a great deal to me that you see your homeland restored. Thank you for telling me about it. And thank you for being here. You see, we are finding our way. And we will continue to do so. We've circled 3 times. There's nothing here to indicate an ambush. No, the cave is small. You wouldn't be able to fit more than 2 men abreast in there, and although it does go back a ways, the cramped conditions would prevent any significant attack. Oh, we scouted this area when deciding where to place our camp. We thought about storing supplies in the cave and setting up the main camp beside the mill, but the conditions were too damp inside and the old mill too rickety. We didn't want to ruin our supplies or bring a dilapidated building down upon our heads. Are you satisfied with our reconnaissance? Good. It's just, when you shift back into a human, for a moment you're a bit illuminated with that sapphire glow. It's breathtaking. Let's go. Braylon, it's me, Rowan. I'm here as you asked. There's a fire going back there. Braylon.
Princess.
What the hell?
Lady Celeste Grimald. I certainly didn't expect to see you here.
Princess Rowan. I heard you took a spear to the leg, and yet you're back to the battlefield so soon. Married to your northern ally.
Princess, I told you not to bring anyone.
You said not to bring guards, and I did not. I brought only my spouse, who you have already met. Why are you accompanied by the enemy commander?
You invited the princess here? Braylon, what is this?
Will everyone please just listen? Please, put the swords away.
Give me one good reason why I should.
Because you both want the same thing.
And what would those things be?
An end to the war, and for the people to be safe, and the magic to be fixed.
Their father is trying to overthrow my mother and kill our subjects, all because he's angry about us offering protection to weaker shifter clans.
Is a difference of opinion no longer allowed in Zeteron?
Stop! Lady Celeste, I heard you when I was out in the woods collecting firewood. I heard you talking to your aide. You told them that your father was in the wrong and had to be stopped at any cost.
You heard that? Was anyone else with you?
I was alone, I promise. No one else heard it, and I didn't tell anyone either.
You want to stop your own father?
Yes, of course I do. He's forcing people to be turned against their will and is trying to overthrow a ruling family that has treated us well for generations. His violent nature is doing far more harm than good, and I can no longer live with this on my conscience.
And do you have backing from your own people?
Yes, from my covert investigations. I have learned that nearly half the Griffins and their allies don't actually agree with my father's leadership.
Then why not publicly denounce what he's doing? Break off and swear fealty to my mother the Queen. Show him that his cause is hopeless.
Would you openly go against your mother if you were in my shoes?
No. I can't say that I would. At least not easily.
At least you understand that one's reach is limited in such a situation. Besides that, at my father's side, I can soften the blow, just a little. Keep him in check as best I can.
That's why I set up this meeting.
Set up is one way to put it.
When you wrote to me to say that you had information about the human revolutionaries, I expected information, not a forced meeting with the heir to the throne of Zeteron, who, I might add, is my sworn enemy.
Only because you publicly support your father. But you're working towards the same end.
And how does me being here result in me making good on the oath I swore to you?
Both of you showed me kindness when I was taken prisoner. Lady Celeste, you asked your father not to turn me and the other children, but made sure we were cared for when he did anyways. You also put me on a lighter duty, which is why I was riding in the wagon that day when the convoy was attacked. Princess Rowan didn't treat me like a prisoner of war. She made sure healers tended to my injuries, gave me food, let me stay in a warm tent, and didn't interrogate me by force. And she let me go. I wasn't lying about that. And both of you, separately, have said that you want to restore peace and fix whatever imbalance that you've heard about. You want to make sure that those who have magic and those who don't can peacefully coexist, right?
Right.
I've seen a lot of leaders make a lot of empty promises, and my people always suffer for it. But you two actually act like you want to make a difference. You're making decisions based on the greater good. I think if I told you what I know, and if you worked together, you could, I don't know, end the war?
You deceived 2 opposing military leaders, one royal and one noble, tricking them into meeting in a cave at night during a war. You are a very brave person, Braylon.
On that, we can agree.
If you believe in what Braylon says, then so do I.
All right, let's talk.
Please, sit down.
So, will you share with us what you know, Braylon?
Yes. The Griffins already know about an imbalance in magic. That's why their self-proclaimed king is taken over. He wanted the dragons off the throne for a long time because of their alliance with the smaller shifter clans. So he's pinning the blame on their line and is using that lie to convince people to join his side. But he's not able to convince the humans. Because they know that it's not just the dragons at fault. That's why he's training us by force. And he's making the problem worse. People have known for a long time that magic holds a cost. But over the last 100 years, only the ungifted have paid it.
That cost being life itself?
Yes. About 8 years ago, we started noticing things happening. Illness, crops dying, and then people just weren't having babies as often. Everyone thought it was just bad luck. Maybe something in the soil. But then, when I was 7, this man came to the village. He looked crazy, acted crazy. But we took pity on him. The people of my village fed him, brought him blankets, made up a cozy place for him to sleep. And before he left the table in the great hall, he suddenly became very serious. In return for our kindness, he said he'd share a prophecy with us. He told us that a debt was owed, and until it was paid, there would be pain and devastation. For every shifter that was made, a regular human would fall ill. For every spell cast by a mage, an ear of corn would wither. And for every person born into magic, a normal baby would not be born at all. It wasn't until we heard stories of similar visitors to other villages, all bearing the same messages, that we began to worry. Soon, we realized that the suffering we had been seeing, it was all due to magic. And our parents and older siblings began a movement, first in whispers, then growing to a roar. The revolution, it wasn't started out of hate, just out of fear. And now look where we are.
I don't understand. Magic has coexisted with us for thousands of years, and there's never been such a high cost to pay.
We found others like that man. We called them seers. They all told us the lifeblood of magic was unbalanced, that the kingdoms had been healthy and at peace for so long, and too many people had taken too much, and now a debt of life is owed to magic itself. A sacrifice must be made to restore balance.
And your people thought that killing shifters and mages was the solution.
At first, they only targeted a few powerful ones. They wanted to see if it made a difference. But then the shifters began to retaliate. The bears from the Jagged Pack clan attacked my village after their alpha was killed. My parents both died in that attack.
I'm so sorry.
That's the point at which my father got involved. He saw an opportunity, proclaimed himself king of the Griffins, and began to raise an army while spreading lies that the dragons alone were at fault for the imbalance in magic. It suited his decades-long campaign to bring down the dragon line.
Yes, but he doesn't know or care about why it's happening. As he raised his army, he began to turn human prisoners, which made everything even worse. Both of you began recruiting mages for your war efforts, and my people began to drop like flies.
And now we're all at war with each other, using up magical reserves and bringing things further into chaos. How do we fix this?
There's supposed to be a keeper of magic in every generation. Someone who exists to safeguard the balance.
Supposed to be. Has this one gone missing? Is that perhaps why things have fallen to ruin?
No, nothing like that. They sort of represent the magic. They don't actually balance it on their own. So when sacrifices are made, they have to be made to the keeper, and the keeper communes with magic itself to determine if it's acceptable. When we learned about the keeper, we thought that maybe our sacrifices weren't enough because we hadn't gone to them first. So we started searching for them. We had only just learned that they were on the northern continent before the rest of my group was taken prisoner by the Griffins.
So we need to speak to the keeper about what can be done. If what you say is true, then I can't imagine the scale of sacrifice that must be made to bring all of this to an end.
Agreed, but that is a problem for my family to solve. We're the protectors of the realm. This falls to us.
What do you plan to do, and how can I help?
We must find the keeper, and we'll need the support of a few academics well versed in the history of magic. I will take this knowledge to the Queen and oversee this effort myself, but leaving the front unguarded...
You simply cannot. You'd put all your people in danger, were my army to stay its current course.
Yes, and your airborne legions would only take a few days to notice that I haven't been around. By that time, I'll barely have started my research efforts in the capital. Since time is what we need, then let's talk about the most eminently pressing issue. Your father is proving dangerous. He started a war, and the advancement of his schemes has been fatal to many. From what you've said, not everyone supports his vendetta against the Dragon Line or our alliances with weaker clans. What would you need in order to stop him, as you wish to do?
A coup, ideally, as well as time to plan one and resources to fall back on. I also want immunity for those who support me. They should not be punished for being forced to follow my father, or for having been misled by his lies.
I can arrange for the resources, that's no problem. And I swear to you, on my father's grave, I will convince my mother to be merciful to the soldiers. But I need something concrete before I can act. I cannot take this to the Queen for approval unless there's a plan in place.
Fair enough. Give me 2 days. How shall I contact you?
Let me help. I can read messages back and forth.
Absolutely not.
No chance.
But I want to help.
And you will. I shall need your assistance in the Royal Library. We have copies of almost every tome and publication that has ever existed, and thousands of transcribed stories besides. We will need to look through them to see what can be found about this Keeper of Magic. Your sharp eyes and quick mind will be well suited to the task, I know it.
In the meantime, my father will be questioning my absence tonight.
Oh, I can help with that too. He needs to be distracted, right? So, tell him that you did get something from this meeting. Tell him that you learned of a revolutionary camp along the Yarvis River, where over 300 human soldiers and their families are hiding out and making preparations.
I cannot just lie outright to one of the most unhinged madmen that ever walked this continent.
It's not a lie. Well, not entirely. It's an old stronghold that they were ordered evacuated the same week that I was captured. So, revolutionaries were there a few weeks ago. But I know they're far away from there by now.
If your father goes there, it'll buy us a few weeks of time while he's busy, and no one will be harmed. And he'll see that your information was good, just maybe not as recent as he might have wanted.
And I can guard his forward camp for him while he's away. using the time to quietly gather support so that we can stop his senseless campaign. This could work.
It could. We at least owe it to our people to try.
Agreed. If you told me this morning that I'd be holding this clandestine meeting, I wouldn't have believed you.
Nor I, to be sure. But thanks to one brave citizen, our entire kingdom may be saved.
When I have a plan in place and I'm ready for your aid, I shall contact you by Raven, using the codename Lilac. With your help, we'll bring him to justice. When my father is safely in the custody of the crown, I shall swear fealty to your mother, the Queen, and we may turn our attention fully to restoring our people.
Very well. Lady Celeste, I look forward to our alliance, and to the peace it will hopefully bring.
Likewise, Princess Rowan, I bid you good night.
You amaze me.
At your service, Princess.
Come back to camp with us. We'll see to it that you get a comfortable bed. Tomorrow, we're bound for the capital.
Really?
Yes, the Queen will want a full report from you. So you'd best get some rest. Go on ahead of us. We'll follow. Well, you weren't wrong. I wasn't entirely right either. It wasn't a trap, but it was not what it seemed. I'm suddenly so tired. Thank you. I need to ask you something. When I go to the northern continent to find the Keeper, will you come with me? Of course I need someone I can rely on to look after my armies, but I have commanders for that. Who better to accompany me to the northern continent than someone who was born there? What I want, more than anything, is for you to be by my side. I don't want to go it alone. And I find myself thinking that if something should happen to you while I was away, I would never forgive myself. So, please indulge the selfish whims of a princess and come with me. Thank you. What, back there? That was nothing. Just a bit of diplomatic strategy. Well, if you love watching me at work playing politics, you'll very much enjoy the rest of your life with me. Come on. Oh, there you are. Nothing, I'm just thinking, and wearing a groove in the floor for my efforts. I wish we could get the Queen's approval. It's been 3 days since we presented our plan. She read the notes from Lady Grimald, she heard Braylin's testimony. We all used the truth serum in her presence. Yet, she has not given us her approval, and the Griffin King is likely to reach his destination soon. He will see that the rebel stronghold is deserted, and will be turning back shortly thereafter. Meanwhile, his daughter is waiting on us, several weapons, and 2,000 soldiers to be able to overthrow him and his supporters. She must have at least a week to prepare, which leaves us very little time to get an answer from our Queen. No, Mother is usually so quick and decisive. I know that she's been busy, but one would think that she'd be eager to remove one of the kingdom's biggest thorns from her side. No, Lady Grimald's plan is foolproof, really. She just needs the manpower to make her move. Even if one of her supporters changed sides at the last moment, they would find themselves unprepared to do anything about it. Our warriors would then flank Lord Grimald's convoy and escort them to the Griffin's forward camp, where they'd be faced with a choice: side with his daughter and be extended mercy, or be taken into captivity with Lord Grimald to be held accountable for treason. Of course I do. I wouldn't have pushed for this plan unless I trusted Lady Celeste implicitly. We knew each other as children. Even though she's a few years my senior, I had many opportunities to spend time with her over the years. She is tough and commands respect, and is perhaps a bit blunt, but she was always the first to make a compassionate choice. To be honest, when I first heard that she was at her father's side, I found it hard to believe that she could be the same young woman who rescued a nearly frozen kitten by hiding it in her sleeve on a winter feast day. Her servants offered to take care of it for her, but she was determined to do it herself. That was when she was about Braylon's age. She even danced and feasted with it carefully tucked up against her, checking on it now and then, like it was her only mission in the world. When Braylon confirmed that she still had those compassionate qualities, I knew I hadn't been mistaken. Lady Celeste is as she always was, just hiding it behind a careful facade to keep her father in check. So yes, I trust that she's telling the truth and that she will succeed. I know her to be honest and tenacious and always looking out for those in her care. It's not at all surprising to me. Her father may be unhinged, but her grandfather, he was the epitome of a good leader. While Lord Grimald crusaded across the continent, stirring up trouble and spreading vile lies about the Dragon Line, his own father was raising Lady Celeste, much in the same manner as my parents raised me. I know the thought is akin to treason, but our people would thrive under her leadership if the Griffins were to take the throne from us. But first, the kingdom would endure hardship and senseless violence at the hands of her father. Who knows what sort of irreparable damage he could do, especially with this storm of magic we've unwittingly created. But enough of my ruminations. How has your day been, dearest? I thought not. I know that if the scholars had found anything, you would have let me know straight away instead of allowing me to ramble on for ages. At least narrowing down to the most useful documents should save us some time. How was Braylon when you checked on her? Somehow that does not surprise me. If that girl had been old enough to command human revolutionary armies, they would have already defeated all of us. Luckily, she's on our side, and running several academics ragged is mostly harmless, since it's for a good cause. I am inclined to think that while they know the tomes better than anyone, she will be drawn to the right subject matter. I sensed that her connection to magic is unusually strong for one who has been made, rather than born. The headmaster at the academy confirmed it when I asked. She perhaps may never learn how to hone it, but her instinct is going to prove invaluable in the weeks to come. When all of this is over, I'd like to offer her a proper education. Not a magical one. Since she's a griffin now, she will need to be taught by their masters, but I'd like her to attend a regular academy here. Let her learn history, writing, politics, and of course, immerse her in the arts, dancing, music, things that a child her age can enjoy doing and learn from. When I look at her, I see the girl I could have been, had the king and queen not looked into my cradle, if they had instead chosen the baby next to me. Every wonderful thing I have, my upbringing, my titles, my education, my finery, my magic, even you, my spouse, all of it I only have because of that one small decision. The importance of it is not lost on me. No, it's not that. I'm troubled by something going on here at the palace. Not related to the war. At least I don't think so. I don't know what it is exactly. All I know is that Ambrose has been acting strange. He's been avoiding me, almost. When he's come in to deliver messages, he's been strained. Won't talk about anything off task. He won't look me in the eye. He just made one comment when we arrived a few days ago. Quietly, he said, "You've returned just in time." But he wouldn't reply when I asked what he meant. Yes, we are close. That's why it doesn't make sense that he's acting like this. That could be. Mother has ordered him to keep things in confidence before, just like she did when she planned for us to wed. If Ambrose disagrees with her, if he believes something should be shared with me, he may find it difficult to be in my company, especially since it's always been so easy for me to read him. He is loyal to me, as a friend and as the heir to the throne, but that is superseded by his loyalty to the ruling monarch, as it should be. I wish I could speak to Mother. Our meeting with her was so brief, I barely got a chance to say hello, and she's been taking meals in her chambers while she works. All of this has made me so uneasy, to the point where I'm seeing a threat in every shadow. I do not work too hard. I do fun things. I danced at our wedding. Well, yes, I did have to, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. Now. But dancing without music. Oh, it's common for Saphirans to dance without music, is it? Well, all right then. You know, I did mean to compliment you the night of the wedding. You're a lovely dancer. We have a sort of joke here that all Northerners are good at couples dancing like this. It seems such a common part of the culture in Saphira, especially. Dancing lessons at such a young age. How did they keep you interested? Well, pastries would have worked on me, so I can't fault that method. I had my first dance lessons at nearly twice that age. I was already 9. I was not a very good pupil, I'm afraid. I often evaded the dance tutor in favour of practising swordplay with the guards. Mother was at her wit's end after a dozen reports of me sprinting off down the hallway in the middle of a lesson. I did eventually learn, yes, but I had to be bribed. Father told me that if I could demonstrate mastery over dance, he would reward me with armour and a sword of my own. For each type of dance I completed, I would get a new piece. Well, I was the only young royal in history to have my own functional armour and master all 9 types of dance, as well as our 2 traditional festival dances by the age of 12. I would say it was quite effective indeed. And he did help me practice.
Your Royal Highness, the Queen has requested your presence. You are to meet in her chambers. Just you and her.
Ambrose, tell me what's going on, please.
I believe she wishes to discuss your plan to quell the Griffin King, Your Highness.
That's not what I mean. What haven't you been telling me?
Please, Princess. I've made an oath to the Queen. Do not ask me to break it. You will know all soon enough. Now please, attend to her.
Do I look that worried? You saw the way he acted. I know something is wrong. No, you don't need to wait here for me. I can find you after. All right, if you insist. I'll be back. She's dying. No, she's ill. I thought we'd have more time. Thank you. How much do you know about the Battle of Zagus? Yes, the dragons did win. My mother was in my role at the time, commanding the airborne forces. The enemy used bombs with a deadly concoction inside. Those that were caught in the explosions did not survive. There was not even enough left of them to identify. It wasn't until a few months later that several warriors began to experience symptoms, some severe, My mother was one of them. One of her first acts as queen was to spearhead a scientific study into the ailment and its cause, and she was the one who indicated that all of those affected were present at the Battle of Zagus. After some study and some detailed interviews with all of those who fell ill, they realized that the fumes released by the explosions contained minuscule sharp crystals that had lodged themselves in everyone's bodies, too small to be seen with the naked eye. Some were buried in bare skin, others were inhaled and made their way into the victim's bloodstream. Those without magic died within 5 years. Those with magic generally survived longer. The longest lifespan was given to those who were in a shifted form upon contact, like my mother. Even when I was a small child, it was known in our family that it would slowly sap the life from her, but the healers and the court mage all said she was likely to see her 60th summer, and while she occasionally felt pain and fatigue, she normally barely noticed it, and was able to carry on without any problem. I never considered that it might be moving faster, that it might grow more painful for her. She's been suffering terribly these last months, and instead of resting, has been using her time to set me up for success, ensuring a smooth transition of power even though we're at war. Everything that has happened to me in the last year has been her preparing me for the throne, sending me to fight in key battles, allowing me to personally attend to refugees when I'm in the city, constantly encouraging me to take the lead at the war table even when it's her place to decide. Even you, she wanted me to marry into a strong alliance, but also to have someone to support me when the crown is thrust onto my head, to ensure I wouldn't be alone. Everything she's done has been for me, and now she's not certain exactly when, but the court mage says that I will be queen within a fortnight. No, I'm not ready. How can you be so certain? I am not so strong as all that. I don't want to face the kingdom right now. There is so much to do, and yet all I want is to stay here, in your arms. I would be very glad of your help. Well, she has given me full control over the Griffin situation, so if you will send word to Lady Grimald and also send her the resources she asked for, then that will leave me free to work with Ambrose concerning the coronation. Though, as he's known about this for some time, I imagine he's already prepared and planned for the occasion, even though it must have broken his heart to do so. Yes, Mother told me he was quite vocal about keeping such a secret from me, bordering on insubordination, she said. But it brought her comfort to see how loyal he is to me. Honestly, it comforts me too. I was so worried when I noticed him acting strangely. Now I know why. He was ordered not to tell me so that I wouldn't be distracted, so that I wouldn't spend these past months grieving for her before she's gone. I'm not angry with her. I likely would have done the same. No, please. I need a moment before we do all that. Just let me be here with you a little while longer. Yes, I'm ready. What's this? I thank you, dearest, but I do not need my notes after all. My head is feeling surprisingly clear, and Well, what harm can there be from speaking from the heart at a time like this? I just wish that my first address to my people had been under different circumstances. You're right, of course. Me becoming queen was always contingent on my parents passing on. And yet I cannot help but feel that the kingdom has been cheated out of many prosperous years with my mother in charge. No, I must be the one to speak to them. You are my consort and given the same privileges as I, but as I am replacing my mother, it is I who must go before them in good faith. Just stand at my side, and all will be well.
Your Highness... Excuse me. Your Majesty. It is time.
Thank you, Ambrose.
Just remember, when you reach the balcony, make sure you're standing on the green stone. You want to make sure the mages can amplify your voice properly. Her Royal Majesty, Queen Rowan Adelaide Cadmus II, Commander of the Airborne Shifter Forces, and Ruler of Zetaron.
Beloved citizens of Zetaron, in every phase of my life, you have stood alongside me. As a baby adopted by the royal family, you celebrated me. As a young princess, you instructed me. As a commander, you supported me. And as a grieving daughter, you have wept with me. The kindness and solidarity with which you have mourned my father, and now in turn my mother, has been a comfort to me, and I will treasure it always. But on this, the morning of my coronation, I must ask for your trust again. I invite you to take my hand as we move into a new chapter of dragon rule. I will not instill false hopes in you. I see the pain you are suffering as a result of this war. I see your hungry children, your sick elderly, your battle-weary youth, and I will not turn my face away from you. I will work tirelessly to bring an end to this conflict and restore peace and prosperity into your hands, you who deserve it most. Just this morning I've received word that a carefully planned coup, arranged between Lady Celeste Grimold and ourselves, has brought the Griffin threat to its knees. Lord Grimold is in custody and awaits trial. A trial where you, the people, shall be given the chance to judge him. And in the meantime, I will be working to seek out and end any other threats to Zetaron. I cannot promise you much in this moment, but what I can swear to you is this. I will dedicate my every breath to the safety, prosperity, and well-being of my people. You've come here today to welcome me as your queen, and I humbly, gratefully accept that welcome. For the people, for Zetaron.
That was incredibly well spoken, Your Majesty.
Thank you.
Are you all right, Your Majesty? Do you feel unwell?
No, I'm only wrung out.
It has indeed been a very long morning already, between both the coronation and your address. Luncheon will be served presently. May I escort you both to take refreshment?
I appreciate all the trouble you've gone to, Ambrose. Truly. But I cannot eat just now. I think I will retire to my chambers. Please do escort my spouse down to the dining hall, though. They've been on their feet all day and should eat something.
As you wish, Your Majesty.
No, dearest, thank you. I would like to spend some time alone. Just for a little while. The last few days have been a blur and I need just to breathe for a moment. Excuse me.
She doubts herself. Well, what monarch wouldn't? A crown is a heavy thing. Taking the throne under normal circumstances is a task in itself, but ascending during a war, while grieving her mother, and trying to solve an imbalance in magic that is threatening life as we know it. It's all far too much for one person. Oh, I know she'll recover in time. Her faith in herself is shaken, not broken. Right now, she only sees herself in comparison to her mother. If only she could see that, despite everything, the people truly do celebrate her ascent to the throne. That they have the utmost faith in her. I'd gladly help with any attempt to lift her spirits. What did you have in mind? So, you think we should let her drop the royal trappings for a while? Take her out amongst the people? That is an excellent idea. They're holding celebrations across the city in honor of her coronation. I believe the refugee camp just beyond the palace walls have even managed to put on a dance. Right you may be, but that's easily done. I'll have her handmaid select some simple clothing and a hairstyle that would allow her to blend in. And, of course, I shall provide the same courtesy to you. Oh, the people have seen her in common dress often enough, but she'll be less noticeable to a crowd. And those that do recognize her will note her attire and not draw attention to her. She and the late King Owen, and myself, of course, would go out into the city with some frequency. Our people have learnt that when Queen Rowan is dressed as one of the people, she is one of the people, and are content to let her be. Besides, the primary reason for disguising her is to protect her from the prying eyes of the nobles, to whom she will be invisible if dressed as a peasant. Some do find it unsavory that a royal would associate with the common folk. The monarchy's oneness with the people has always been an important part of Zateron culture. Yet, there are some who just refuse to adapt. But no matter. Tonight, she will not be pestered by them. If you choose to attend the celebration at the camp, you won't encounter any of that sort. Tonight, she will finally see that the people truly love and celebrate her. Anyway, I shall personally come by your chambers once everything is arranged. No, it is I who should be thanking you. I always hoped that my dearest friend would find a good match, but it pleases me exceedingly that you constantly put so much thought and effort into her well-being. But for now, she has asked me to see to it that you are fed. Allow me to escort you to luncheon, and then I shall set our plan into motion.
I'm not sure I understand the point of this, Ambrose. The common clothes are one thing, but to not even tell me where we're going.
As I said, it's a surprise, and I'd just as soon not spoil it. You do trust me, don't you?
Obviously I do, or I would not be here to begin with. I've just got a lot on my mind and... What are you doing out here? What's going on?
As instructed, I have brought Her Majesty to you.
You arranged this?
You're most welcome. I wish you both the most pleasant evening.
Does being queen not give one the right to know what the hell is going on? I'm short-tempered. I apologize. I confess I don't know what to do with myself at the moment. But being bundled into a servant's dress and smuggled out through the back garden tunnel has done very little to improve my mood. And what exactly did you have planned? Dearest, I appreciate the thought. It's very kind, but to run away from the palace mere hours after my coronation... Yes, we did that after the wedding, but don't you think that's different? Of course I trust you. Well, all right. Just for a few hours. I suppose the night air will do me some good. What are you putting on my head? A flower crown? For me? Why? Yes, Ambrose informed you correctly. It is customary for the people to wear flower crowns on a coronation day. I haven't seen it myself. I wasn't even born the last time a monarch was crowned in Zeteron. Oh, this tunnel? It leads to the orchard behind the refugee camp. Why? Is that where we're headed? Are we needed there? I did advise Ambrose to send extra provisions and a few treats so that they might partake in the celebrations, funded by the palace coffers, of course, but if they were in need of more, we shouldn't be going empty-handed. Really? General's Island must have persuaded their neighbours in the cobblestone quarter into such generosity. I've known that lot to clutch their purse strings tightly even in times of need, so for them to fund a feast and contract the Zeteron players for the music. Fascinating. Surely you don't believe it's my influence. Well, certainly a coronation ideally only happens once or twice in a lifetime, but you were crowned this morning too, you know. The influence may be equally yours. Oh, Ambrose did offer to host a party at the palace, but I don't know, I couldn't have that on my conscience. Having a lavish celebration while my people were going hungry, it didn't seem right. But I am glad the people are celebrating on their own. Look at them. You almost wouldn't know there's a war going on. A few months ago, these refugees were starving, cold, bringing nothing but the rags on their backs. Now they're dancing with flowers in their hair. The children's faces are sticky from sweets. The elderly are comfortably settled by a fire with enough ale to last the night. Their bellies are full and they're singing and celebrating. And even some nobility from the town has chosen to join them, look. That's Lady Velia and her partners and children. And there, Lord Nathan and his brothers, and all of their families. Even General's Island's sailing club are all here. Just a sampling of a unified Zeteron. Oh, dearest, they are so happy. Even despite the loss of their queen, they're joyful. Do you really think they're celebrating me? It's true, I've brought them food, seen to their comfort and safety. And yes, we've quelled the griffin threat, but My mother... You truly believe that they placed their faith in me as equally as they did in her? I suppose I cannot deny the evidence I see with my own eyes. These people are not just content, they're elated. After all they've seen, all the pain they've suffered, they're celebrating. I might be persuaded. What is the advice that you're offering? Well, I suppose if they can put so much trust in me, then I can also trust in myself. Thank you for getting me out of my own head, for helping me find my faith in myself when it was shaken. I'm blushing? Oh no. Suppose I told you that I've grown to love you over time, that I cherish your company, the time we spend together. I cannot say when anything happened. I've always respected you and hoped that we would grow to love one another. But suppose I told you that not only do I love you, but I believe I've fallen completely in love with you. What would you say to that? I never expected this all-encompassing devotion to you. The desire to see you smile, to hear you laugh. I would do anything to keep that look on your face forever. I suppose you're right. Why would you do all of this for me unless you felt completely the same? You arranged this to make me smile again. I love you. You know, it's your coronation day as well, and I haven't even congratulated you. How can I make it up to you? Oh? What did you have in mind? Oh! You actually took the time to learn this dance. I know, you're already very good at it. I would be honored to dance with you, dearest. All night if you wish. Remains that while Lady Celeste has made excellent progress with the Griffins, we cannot afford for her to leave the country with us when we do seek out the Keeper. Perhaps we could extend her an invitation to reside here in the palace while we are away. It is a show of trust that will still allow her to keep a firm hold over her own people. Please send an order to the court mages for a communication mirror to be made for her. We will keep her apprised regularly throughout our journey. Even if she cannot travel with us, we can remain in contact and include her in our decision-making process. It's been a long day. Let us adjourn for now. Everyone get some rest. Dearest, you're a sight for sore eyes. How has your day been? Why must I tell you about my day first? Well, all right. It's been fairly busy. First, my fitting for my new gauntlets, then a brief meeting with the heads of trade. We had previously established a price cap on essentials like grain and salt to keep the basics affordable for our people. Now that the Griffin threat has tapered off, we've been able to remove it. Though we have opted to continue the higher tariff on luxury and magical items until we're able to resolve the imbalance in magic. Not all are happy about it, no. But it's necessary. And once that meeting was done, we had a council meeting for the last 4 hours. Very exhausted, yes. But quite refreshed at the prospect of your company for the evening. I believe I managed to eat a slice of bread with jam on my way to my first meeting. Aside from that, no, I haven't really had anything to eat. A quiet meal in my chambers sounds lovely. It was very thoughtful of you to arrange that. You're in a very good mood. What's happened? Really? Well, don't keep me waiting. What is it? You mean to say that Braylon's found the location? I see. And this city name combined with the history tome will tell us where exactly the Keeper resides? That's fantastic news. This has been going on so long, I thought perhaps we'd have to bring a large army to turn over every stone in the northern continent. And of course, that would look like an invasion, which would cause all sorts of diplomatic incidents, but speaking to the monarch of whatever country the Keeper happens to be in could take even longer than personally combing every piece of land. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. But that does not change the fact that I will still need to send word to the ruler of wherever we're going. Let them know of my impending visit. What's the name of the city? But that's in Saphira, is it not? Do I get to meet my in-laws sooner than we'd planned? Well, that's very convenient. Will you send word, let them know we're coming? Thank you. What is it? No, I don't know much about them. Aside from what was recorded in the tomes, that is. I know you lost your mother, Queen Isadora, when you were a child. I know that your father, King Simon, remarried shortly thereafter, and that the current queen, your stepmother Petra, bore him a son. I believe your brother Stefan is several years younger. Well, thank you, but my knowledge stops there. The last entry we have was Stefan's birth, so we're a bit behind. But I'd love to hear more about your family from your own lips. Your own wonderful, kissable lips. Right now? But anyone could walk in. Perhaps you would be so kind as to accompany me to my chambers. Don't worry. There's a servant's passage we can use that won't take us back out through the main hall. We won't be stopped by the council or by Ambrose. Come on. Yes, we should eat the meal you've had prepared for us. It would be a shame to let it spoil. I am quite capable of... All right. Thank you. So, tell me, what is your family like? Well, you haven't said much about them, and that may well be for a reason, but seeing as I'm to meet them, I should be prepared, should I not? Why not? Surely you understand it would be incredibly rude to be only a day's ride away and not make time for a visit. Especially seeing as how we're bringing a small army with us. That's how diplomatic incidents begin, you know. I see. Is the situation that difficult? Well, I had heard that your stepmother had become a bit unpleasant, and that your father's advanced age led to questions regarding whether he's fit for the throne, but I dismissed them as rumors. 9 times out of 10, there is very little truth, if any, to the rumors spread about ruling families. And given that I overheard it years ago among drunken sailors at one of the portside taverns, I had even less reason to suspect that the whispers had any credibility. I do sometimes spend time in taverns, yes. At least I used to. What does anyone do in taverns? Drink, make merry, perform acts of espionage. Well, I'll have you join me sometime, assuming I get the freedom to do so again. But, forgive me, I don't understand. You're the heir to the throne. What does your stepmother have to gain by antagonizing everyone? Is she that bitter that there was another queen before her? Well, perhaps it's best if we don't understand. She strikes me as an incredibly unhappy woman. What sort of person is Stefan? What does that mean? Do you not know your own brother? You were never close? I don't know, actually. Ambrose is the closest thing I've had to a sibling, and he and I are close at that. No matter. Do you suppose there's any danger in you going home? Good. Well, while I'm glad there's no real harm, I wouldn't want to endanger your sanity either. For if your sanity goes, then mine will follow shortly thereafter, and then where would we be? I am sorry that your father is unwell. I know the two of you were quite attached once. It must be difficult to see him in decline, growing older. Well, don't worry. We have just one small task to do before we can turn our attentions to Saphira, and then we can sort out his prosperity and comfort in his old age. Restoring a balance to magic itself shouldn't take long, right? What will you say when you write to your father? I am sure he'll understand that it's a matter of utmost urgency, and to make time for a visit could cost lives. Perhaps if things go well, then on our way back we can try to meet with just him. I can draw Queen Petra away to a ladies' tea and leave you a chance to see your father in private. Of course I would. I'd do anything to see you happy. If that means spending a few hours with your cold, slimy excuse for a stepmother, then so be it. I'm sorry that you haven't known the warmth of a loving home since you were a child. Me? No, I was lucky. I was only an orphan for a moment. I don't remember my birth parents. I don't even know their names. I have no memories of any home other than the wonderful one my adoptive parents raised me in. But you had a happy home taken away from you when your mother died. Your stepmother may not have been outwardly cruel, and I'm grateful for that, but you were still a child who deserved warmth and love. She denied you that, and I'm sorry. Why's that? I'm relieved to hear you say that. It means the world to me that you're happy here. How long do we have before we must pack up and head to the northern continent? Why is it up to me? Very well. I suppose if we know the city we're headed to, then we shouldn't waste any time. The academics simply must identify the exact location near the city, and they can do that while we begin our journey. They can communicate to us once they have an answer. Tomorrow might be a bit soon, but 2 days after, it should give us enough time to load a ship and prepare for the journey. No, Ambrose will be here, running things in my absence. And I've gotten the council's approval to extend an invitation to Lady Celeste to stay here at the palace. Her expertise will be instrumental in continuing to manage the Griffins and their allies in the aftermath of Lord Grimald's trial. As much as he likely deserves it, no. Executing him will not solve anything. Spending the rest of his life serving the humans that he formerly antagonized, now that is justice. No, his magic will not come back. The process is irreversible. We don't often dole out that sentence, but those who have proven to abuse their magic and use it to harm others have it taken away. No, it was not my decision. I was not the most wronged by Lord Grimald, so I only enforced the choice the people made. What they deemed was fair. But he is no longer a threat, and his daughter has done nothing but good for Citeron, so I trust her. Besides, I shall need her influence to convince Braylon to stay here in the meantime. Of course. I've grown very fond of that child. Her bravery and resilience are astounding. What do you think of her? I noticed that you take a daily walk with her along the palace walls and through the garden. I won't ask you what you speak of, but how are you getting on with her? Good. That's good to hear. I'm just pondering is all. Nothing I can direct too much energy to at the moment. And where do you think you're going? Come back to me. While I admire your initiative, it's a bit late in the day to start chaos by announcing our impending departure. We'll tell the council and Ambrose in the morning so that we can begin making the necessary arrangements. In the meantime, what do you say to escaping up to our mountaintop sanctuary and watching the sunset, and then staying to greet the stars? Well, I've learned to enjoy these moments while we have them. It seems that there's always something about to go wrong, so I soak up these pleasant bits of rest when I can. I'm glad that you're going with me. I'm no stranger to a hard journey, but I've come to rely on your support. And to be honest, I don't want to be parted from you. What kind of promise, dearest? I'm always careful. I know that I tend to put my people first, as I should, but I guarantee you, if the scale of this mess is anything close to what we've imagined, then the life of one queen could not correct it. If I must lay down my life for my people, I will, but I would not do so recklessly, you know that. But I made a vow to you at our wedding, just as I did to my people at my coronation. So, I promise I will try to be careful. I will not risk my life needlessly. I wish I could tell you not to worry, but I know you would anyway. On the contrary, it is an honor to have you worrying about me. Come, let's get out of here for a while. I appreciate your efforts just the same. Rest for now before you go out to continue the search. The southern scouting party hasn't had any luck. What about the eastern? I thought as much. It's been 3 days. I don't understand why we're missing it. I know caverns can be difficult to spot, dearest. But according to everything we've read, we're right on top of it. I should be able to see it from this very spot. I'm not discouraged so easily. And neither are you, from the looks of it. Yes, a flight would be nice, but aren't you worried that we'll be spotted? I know you did write to your father in the end to let him know we'd be here, but I've been watching you. You've had one eye over your shoulder everywhere we go. You're acting like you don't want our exact location to be known. Of course I noticed. Do you feel that ill at ease in your own homeland? A strong instinct is worth listening to. You don't need to justify it to me, even if you can't explain it yourself. That said, you don't seem concerned about flying around now. I suppose it is far enough that the villagers down in the valley wouldn't catch sight of us. All right, it would be good to clear our heads, breathe a little. Certainly, let's go. It's a bit brisk, I'll admit. A little colder than I'm used to. Oh no, it's not so bad as all that. It really is beautiful. I've never seen so much green in one place. We have forests and fields, but nothing quite to this scale. And that river. I was impressed by it closer to the coast as a shipping lane, but this far inland, it's very tranquil. Do you know of any record of a flood here? It's just that it looks like the waterline was much higher at one point. Do you see there, where the earth forms a small ridge and the trees are different? So the camp we're staying in beside the river used to be at the bottom of a lake? Dearest, when was the dam built? Gods above, we've been looking in the wrong place. The cavern referenced by the tomes was in a cleft rock just steps from the waters of the River Trith, right? But that account was written after the dam was built and before it was destroyed, meaning the waters wouldn't be in their current location. Yes, exactly. We camped there because they were the only rock formations beside the river, but we should have been looking further up along the old shoreline. Where? Yes, that's it. That has to be. Shall we go down now? Agreed. Best not waste time. Dearest, if we go in there, and the keeper is within, am I ready for this? Your faith in me remains always unshaken. All right, let's go. Hello? I'm sorry to intrude. I've come a very long way to speak to you.
Queen Rowan Adelaide Cadmus II. And your spouse, who has returned home after so long away from these lands. You're quite far from Ziteron.
The distance matters not to me. My cause is what brings me to you.
Your cause. Yes, I know what brings you here. I feel the strain of magic coming from your lands. Lives extinguished. Suffering running unchecked. Like pulling too hard on a loose thread. It begins to create a chasm in the tapestry we weave.
I want to stop this. I want to restore balance to magic. I know it requires a sacrifice, but I must admit I cannot think of any sacrifice that would be enough to undo the damage that's been done, to heal the wound that has been inflicted. Please, I beg you, I need your guidance.
It is your kind, and the Griffin's kind, that have taken too much. Do with that information what you will.
You mean that, specifically, our blood must pay the price?
Death is not required to correct death.
Our magic, then. Would mine be enough? If I were to give up my ability to make more dragons, if the Cadmus line lost its ability to wield shifter magic, would that be enough?
You must know in your heart that it would not suffice. Saphira has not been responsible for the imbalance in magic, yet you would give up your own line's power just to support your wife?
Dearest, no.
You are a noble one, and your love is pure. I can see that. But even with the same sacrifice from the Saphiran dragons, it would not quite be enough.
If I could get the Griffins involved.
Their leader would need to offer up their own magic. I cannot accept it from a dragon, though you are their queen.
What would be enough?
If the two of you were to renounce the dragon's ability to make others like them, then enough magic would be released to restore the balance.
You mean, for all dragon shifters, dragons could only be born, not made?
Yes.
Dragons have a low birth rate. Only 1 in 10 babies born to dragon parents actually carries the magic themselves. We would be dooming our kind to fade out of history.
Such is the atonement required to correct this chaos.
We cannot make that decision for all of my people. They should have some say. Perhaps we can go home, put it to a vote.
Your sense of justice and fairness is admirable, Your Majesty, but you will not have the time. You are lucky that fate guided you to me when it did. We stand on the cusp of devastation. The effect has escalated. And were you to return home to seek counsel, the chaos would extinguish thousands of human lives before you could return to me. If it is any consolation, magic itself whispers to me that you're worthy. Your heart and your intentions are pure. It will accept this sacrifice if you were to make it.
We must think on this. How long do we have?
You must make this decision before the moon waxes full, or a new cycle will begin and the window of opportunity will close.
3 days.
You may confer with whoever you wish, but if your sacrifice is to mean anything, we must have your decision by then.
I understand. Thank you for your time.
And gods walk with you.
I don't know. We must contact the council. My heart is breaking, dearest. We must either doom the dragons to fade into obscurity, or I must condemn all humans in my realm, and potentially unleash chaos the likes of which the world has never seen before. Yes, of course the council will be divided. They all have their own interests. Even if they know what we must do, many of them are dragons themselves. I know what is right, but to make that choice for thousands of dragons, history will not remember us kindly, if it remembers us at all. We may even be run out of Zateron. Yes, I must speak with those whose counsel I trust. We should go back to camp, open a communication portal. Wait. Everything's gone quiet. Something is wrong. Look out! No! Get away from them!
Look who is finally awake. So many questions. Is that any way to greet your dear stepmother? Rude as always. I haven't missed you, you know. You are here because I need you to speak a few little magic words in front of the bishop so that the succession will pass on to your little brother. You will tell the bishop that you forfeit your claim to the throne of Saphira, perform the blood rite to transfer your magic to him, and then I can be done with you. Your father won't be stopping me from doing anything, dear. Oh, did I forget to write to you? Your father is dead. About 2 months ago. Truly, it must have slipped my mind. Don't be so angry. That sour face does not become you. He was an old man, after all. Love him? I didn't even like him. But he was a means to an end. My son will sit on the throne of Saphira. Now, to answer your questions. Your weapons and armor are being held securely somewhere in the palace. You feel groggy because you've been poisoned to quell your magic, so you won't be going anywhere. That's how we were able to take you prisoner. That low-born wench you call a wife nearly got herself killed trying to protect you. She's being held elsewhere, hanging on to life by a thread. And her survival all depends on your behavior. Put one toe out of line and I'll slit her throat myself. Do you understand? You'll kill me. Well, it's a good thing I don't intend to set you free then. After you've given the succession to Stefan, and you will do it, both of you will be stripped of your magic and possessions and sent back to Zateron. Simple. Your wife's life depends on it. Do exactly as I say, and the two of you will be able to return to Zateron together. Now that sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds to me like Zateron has enough problems to deal with at the moment. I highly doubt your council will approve retaliation against us anytime in the next few years. And even if they did, you wouldn't wish harm on your dear brother, would you? How juvenile. The bishop will be here in 3 days' time. You have until then to consider your wife's well-being. If she dies, it's on your conscience. After all, I did try to sort this out before you knew her. If you had died the first time I tried to kill you, she wouldn't be in this mess. Your father was so proud of you, you know. He didn't even have to encourage you to meet up with whatever generous soul sent that well-timed letter offering us help. You were already packing to leave for the south before you even told your father about it. You walked straight into my trap. Your father was so upset to hear that you'd gone missing in the mountains, nearly inconsolable. His joy upon seeing you well again was immeasurable. Though as for me, I must confess I was disappointed. At least, until I found out that the Sephiran line has the ability to pass their magic on to someone else in their family. Then you became useful to me. I always dreamed of Stefan becoming a king, but a dragon king? Oh, he's off on a hunting party. He doesn't even know you're here yet. Imagine how excited he'll be to hear that you're finally home for his coronation. I know you were never as close as two siblings could be, but he always looked up to you, you know. Think of how wonderful his future will be once you've given him your power and the throne. Selfish. Your father is dead. The throne passes to you, but only if you accept it. Reject it, and my Stefan will have the life I've worked so hard to build for him. As I said, your wife's life depends on it. I'm certain you'll come around. Do the right thing for Saphira and for Zateron. Ensure there are extra patrols on the ground so that we are not met with any surprises. I also want a double guard in this cell. They're not to be treated as anything other than a prisoner.
Leave us. What has she done to you? Hey, easy. It's me. It's your brother, Stefan. Don't you recognize me? What? No. I've just learned of what happened. I nearly knocked over 2 servant women running down the corridor on the way here. Mother has gone too far this time. There are many in this palace that are loyal to me after Father's death. They told me that Mother had you captured and held as a prisoner. As to why, I have my suspicions. I've brought you water and food. Will you eat? Right. You have no reason to trust me. After all, Mother is likely doing this in order to put me on the throne. Is that it? I thought as much. I'm sorry. I didn't want any of this to happen. The throne would be an honor, but not at this cost. I wrote to you, you know, to tell you of Father's death. I was angry with her when I found out she wasn't going to inform you. When she saw that I was angry, she destroyed my communication focus. I sent a messenger myself, but she intercepted the message and locked me in my chamber for days. I'm not asking you to believe me. I know you must have your suspicions about my involvement. What can I do to prove my intentions to you? I know we were never very close as children. Mother did her best to keep us separated. But I always respected you. Looked up to you, even. Father spoke of you so highly when we were together. He hoped that we would grow closer as time went on. I believe he knew of Mother's games. In the end, he advised me to travel to you in Tavern. He feared for both of our lives. No, I assure you, no matter what other horrid scheme she'd gotten up to, she did not have any hand in his death. She merely waited him out with an ice-cold heart. Though, I suppose her lack of warmth did affect him over the years. If things had been different, if he had been happy... Do not say that. He missed you so much. But he never resented you for moving to Tavern. He was so happy for you, so proud of you. Truly. He wished that I'd join you there until you could take the throne in his place. I suppose I didn't heed him because I didn't want to leave him alone. I didn't want his final months to be bleak and cold and lifeless. But when he passed, Mother didn't even wait until he was buried to set her plans in motion. As I said, she wouldn't allow me to send a messenger to tell you. Though, you may be interested to hear that she promised the council to notify you herself. The council believes you're visiting the continent briefly with your new queen, but Mother has left them in the dark. Given all that's happened, I wouldn't be surprised if she makes my ascent to the throne the official reason for your visit. On that note, why have you come back? If you did not know of Father's death, what business brings you to Saphira? Is there anything I can do to show you that I'm on your side? Your wife? As in the Queen of Tavern? No, she is not here. Truly, she isn't here. I overheard Mother tell the guards herself. My understanding is that your wife was injured, but was left on the field where you were taken. She hasn't been seen on these grounds. If Mother told you she was here then, she likely meant to use the Queen as a bartering chip. Threatening to kill your wife while you still live. That's reckless, even for her. Has she forgotten that you are the dragon's heir? She tried to have you killed before? But why keep you alive all this time? Surely she cannot use you to negotiate with Tavern, given the offense committed by kidnapping you in the first place. You mean she intends to force you to give up your shifter magic? To make me a dragon king? I would never accept it. Never. I will make this right. No. If I release you now, we won't be able to accomplish anything. Mother would have us both thrown back here in the cell before we could blink, and then she'd bend the council to her will. Give me some time to gather my allies. I would like to send word to your wife, but Mother controls all the messages in and out of the castle. Does your wife know where the palace is? Have you told her how to enter the hidden gate to remove the glamour over the mountain? Understandable. I wouldn't have wanted to bring her here either. And if she doesn't know who's responsible for your kidnapping, then she won't know to look here anyway. I don't suppose you have any ideas for contacting her? Your personal effects? Certainly. I believe they're stowed away in Mother's chambers. What is it I'd be looking for exactly? She told you to use it if you ever needed her help? That sounds like a beacon amulet. I assume it has the Cadmus crest on it? Or perhaps a Zaterran ruby? Yes, I think it'll work. Something that small will barely be noticed. I'll bring it as soon as I can. I will earn your trust. I swear it. Hey, keep a close eye. Fetch me immediately if Mother comes down here.
Hello, Your Majesty.
Braylon, where is Ambrose?
He's gone across the city to request more mages to help us. He left me provisionally in charge, so I'm doing my best.
A wise choice. With all you've learned from him, Lady Grimald and the mages, you're becoming a trusted member of court. I'm sorry to rush you, Braylon, but has there been any news?
We're sorry, Your Majesty. The mages have been working with the ones in your scouting party, but you're so far away, and something is blocking our attempts. Maybe a glamour?
Have we received a ransom note? Has someone claimed responsibility? Who did this and why?
I promise. We'll tell you the moment any of us hear anything. I'm so sorry, but we just don't know.
If someone is truly using a glamour, then only a deep connection can trace their location.
That's right. I'm told that under normal circumstances, we could use you to trace them. But you're not here in Zaterran to be placed under the focus.
Damn it all, how am I to sit here and do nothing? And with such a grave and important decision looming over me through it all.
If I may, Your Majesty, Rowan, you will make the right choice. I know that somewhere in your heart, you feel one choice is right. Your heart won't lead you astray, no matter how hard the decision might be.
I don't know. I don't know if I can. How can I choose such a defining path for so many thousands?
I don't know.
What if it were you in my shoes, Braylon?
Your Majesty? I'm just a normal person. I don't think it's appropriate for me to advise you.
Let us pretend, for a moment, that you are not just a girl but a queen. The same loyal and kind heart would still beat in your chest if you were ruler of a kingdom, I'm sure of it. What would you do?
It's Hard to say, but I would make the choice that represented the most love for my people.
Of course. Of course that is the right choice. I cannot do this without them, Braylon. I cannot even think of living without them.
What can I do?
Speak to the council regarding the decision I must make. Beg they trust I will make the right one. But until the moon waxes full, I must focus my energy on finding my beloved. They are out there somewhere, likely hurt. Since they were taken and not killed, that means someone wants them for something. We likely have a little time, but not if we lose it all on locating them. I don't know how... Braylon, what is that noise?
The family crest in your study. It's humming with magic?
Someone is calling in a favor owed by Zeteron. Now.
Hold on. Let me get a closer look. Your own amulet. It's triggering this magic. Who have you given your amulet to?
My gods. My dearest. It has to be them. I gave them my amulet when they saved my life in that snowy cave when we first met. I told them to use it if they ever needed my help. Where is it coming from, Braylon?
I'm not sure I understand. This signal is coming from the royal palace of Saphira.
It cannot be.
Do you have any reason to suspect they would be taken to their own home against their will?
Yes, actually. They seemed reluctant to go home and did not wish to encounter their stepmother.
Queen Petra? That seems odd. Perhaps we should contact the king. I know your spouse is close with their father.
Yes, good idea. Do you know how to use the communication focus?
Yes, they taught me. I'm looking for the communication crest. Saphira. Here it is. I'll put it in the focus and try to reach him.
I cannot see. You must tell me what's happening.
Nothing is happening.
What do you mean?
I mean, the crest is not reacting to magic. Which means...
The original owner is no longer living.
The king of Saphira is dead. But that means the throne now belongs to your spouse. So if they're being held against their will in their own palace, then...
Someone means to make them give up the throne. I know roughly where to go. Inform the council of this development. While I travel, find me information, exact coordinates to the palace and any information from our library on how to enter. Secret passageways, glamours, all of it. I will contact you again as I approach the palace. You can share the information with me then.
But everything I've learned... Well, we should be careful. If we anger Saphira, then we risk...
Risk what, Braylon? A diplomatic incident? That has already happened. The king is dead and my beloved has been taken for their crown. Do you honestly think they will be allowed to go free once the throne has been stolen from them? Blood is owed. Now. I have 4 dragon shifters in my party, 2 mages, and several fine fighters. I will make do with what I have.
Please, your majesty, give me a moment to speak with Lady Celeste and the council. We will collect our warriors. Let us send Zeteron to help you.
I am Zeteron.
It worked! Scouts saw a few dragons on the horizon headed this way. It's time to go. They're too far away to tell for sure, but I'm certain it's your wife. The visiting Saphiran dragons always approach from the opposite direction. Take this. It's the antidote to the magic suppression they gave you. It'll take a while to fully kick in, so I think it's best to drink it now. We don't know when you may need to use your power. Let's go. I've already instructed the court mage to drop the palace's glamour, so that your wife can enter unhindered. She'll likely beat us to the courtyard, which is where my mother went upon the first sight of their approach. I have no idea, but if you've got any plans on how to handle this, be my guest. Have you forgotten? You're the ruling monarch until you say otherwise. This is, by definition, your problem. But I will stand with you, whatever decision you make. I trust your judgment. Mother may be blood, but so are you. And you haven't conspired to commit treason. I accept that her actions have consequences. But let's go through here.
Is this what we can expect of Zateron? Violence instead of diplomacy?
Diplomacy stopped being an option when you kidnapped my consort.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Do I look stupid to you? I've used magic to find them. A symbol of our bond led me right to them. Here, in this palace. Do not play with fire, Petra.
Have we abandoned all decorum? My title is that of a queen.
Your title is nothing. You are queen no longer. Your king is dead. The crown rests on the head of my beloved and no one else. Now bring them to me or I will turn this place to rubble.
No need for that. They're right here, Your Majesty. On behalf of Saphira, I sincerely beg your forgiveness for my mother's treasonous behavior.
Stefan! What are you doing?
The right thing, Mother.
Dearest.
Not so fast! Guards, restrain them!
Disregard that order. They're our ruler by right. She has no power here.
Dearest, are you all right? No, I'm fine. I'm just fine, I promise. Your magic is suppressed, isn't it? I can feel it.
I've given them an antidote. They'll be back to normal soon.
And you are?
Your brother-in-law, Stefan. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, though I wish it were under better circumstances.
Likewise, Stefan. I'm afraid pleasantries must wait until we've dealt with less pleasant matters.
Guards! Heed my orders, or I'll have you all horsewhipped! Why will you not obey me?
Because you are not the sovereign.
You arranged this. Why?
What you're doing is wrong, Mother. You were queen. I grew up as the son of a king. But that just wasn't enough for you, was it? You had to kidnap, lie, and threaten my very blood because you decided that I should be the Dragon King.
My son. How could you do this to me? To us? Everything I have done for you!
You did it for yourself, Mother, and no one else. Do you think I would take pride in my crown if it were won this way? Do you think I would accept it, knowing that even before you tried to take my siblings' magic, you tried to take their life?
What?
My son, it's not what you think.
You forged a letter from noble families loyal to Saphira to lure the true heir away from the palace, and you hired assassins to ensure they never returned. Do you deny it?
He asked you a question.
You want the truth? Yes, I did. Your father was weak, and they were lined up to be weak right after him. My son could have been the king this country needed. So I did what I had to in order to give him an undeniable claim to the throne and the royal power. Why would I ever have cared for you? You were an obstacle, an annoyance to be tolerated until I could give Stefan your birthright.
But to strip them of their magic? Kill them? Mother, you've taken leave of your senses.
I would see you arrested and punished severely for your crimes.
You have no right to make demands.
Hold your tongue, or I'll remove it myself.
Guards, restrain her.
Don't touch me.
I don't need to touch you to immolate you where you stand.
There's no need to threaten such violence. I'm sure we can reach a peaceful resolution.
I'm not interested in a peaceful resolution. I'm interested in a resolution where you are put to the sword for your crimes against both of our kingdoms and against the love of my life.
I demand true justice.
And I demand your head. Dearest, what are you doing? No, let me pass. She would have you killed. Stripped of everything you are, she deserves to die. Regret it. She tried to have you assassinated. She took you from me. Why would I regret justice? Let go of my blade. Your hand is bleeding. Dearest. You're right. Of course you're right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What is your order? What would you have me do? Very well. Guards, take her to the fortified cell in the dungeon. She's to be kept under constant guard.
Stefan, listen to me. Stefan! You can't let them do this!
I ask but only one favor of you. The guards who served her likely did so under the threat of harm done to their families. I beg your mercy for them, in exchange for their fealty. Then please, allow me to be the first. Your Majesty, I kneel before you as both your brother and your subject. I swear fealty to you from this day until my last day, and condemn the acts of treason we have borne witness to. I invite your subjects to bend the knee alongside me. Will you accept our fealty? Thank you, Your Majesty. Long may you reign.
Long may you reign. You're back. Is everything well with Stefan? Good. I'm glad the council was understanding. I'm relieved to hear that Saphira will know stability again. Yes. I've decided we must sacrifice our power. Dragons must pay the price. It's a relief that we're of one mind on this. Yes, we have until midnight tonight to give the Keeper our decision. It will take us a few hours of flying to get there, so we must leave by midday at the latest. We have at least enough time for me to tend to that hand. After all, that injury is my fault, and you'll be able to fly better if I deal with it first. Sit down, please. What will become of Petra? And do you think this trial will result in her no longer being a danger to anyone? That's good. I'm so sorry, my love. I nearly went mad with fear at the thought of losing you. I lost all sense of reason. I would hope that you wouldn't do the same for me, dearest. One of us must keep our head on straight at all times. She told you what? That whole time you thought I was... No. I was grazed by a sword, just a small cut. It won't even leave a scar. You thought I was dying somewhere in this palace, only alive at her whim. Oh, dearest. It would seem that we have both endured entirely too much in the last 2 days. I want her to pay, but I'm glad you stopped me. You were right. I would have regretted it. Killing someone in cold blood in an act of vengeance. It's not who I am. That's not who I aspire to be. You were right to stop me, and I'm sorry you had to. Hold still. There. Good as new. I love you too. We should go. I know, and I do still look forward to spending more time with your brother and seeing your home, but just now we have more pressing issues. And besides, we'll be back. On top of addressing your succession, we must still face the people for the choice we're about to make. First in Zateron, and then here in Saphira. Come, there's still work to be done.
You've returned. Just in time, too. Welcome back. Have you made your choice?
I have. We have. To end this chaos, we offer up the ability of all dragons to make other dragons like them. We willingly restrict our magic to that passed on only by blood and by birth, in exchange for harmony once again.
You seem so clear-headed now, where before you were clouded. What has brought about this change?
My beloved was taken from me. I did not know where they were, or indeed if they still lived at all. But I did know, with every fibre of my being, that all I wanted was for them to live, no matter the cost. I know my people would do the same for their loved ones.
Do you think that your people will accept your decision so easily?
I don't expect them to. If I had the time, and the resources, and the good fortune to get the blessing of each and every one of my people before making this decision, I would. But I'm sure you understand more than most that such an endeavor would be impossible. I'll live with my people's anger, and I'll live with their hate, if I must. But their ability to carry on, to use magic in moderation, and to live must be preserved at any cost.
And you're certain that you're willing to pay it?
We are.
Your desire to protect your people and to ensure their very survival is pure and unwavering. The two of you are offering, between you, the very existence of all dragon shifters. To end this war and bring harmony between regular humans and those who are magically gifted. And magic itself, the force that binds us and surrounds us, accepts your noble sacrifice.
I feel strange.
A great amount of magic has just left both of you, and indeed, every dragon in existence. It is expected that you should feel drained of energy. You will grow accustomed to it in time.
So that's it. It's done?
Not instantly, no. It will take some time to redistribute that which has been taken for so long. But by the time you return home, I think you will find the situation much improved. The sick will become well again. Crops will begin to grow and thrive once more. Your next harvest will be the best in years. Humans will be able to grow their families again, and the villages will once again know the sound of children's laughter. Your people may not all appreciate what you've done for them right away. Indeed, the dragons may never truly forgive you. But humans will recognize what you've given.
It will be up to us to divulge this news to the council, dearest. Let us hope they do not insist on a dire punishment.
You are still the Queen, Your Majesty, and you retain your dragon form, as does your consort. You will still hold your power. It is only up to you to wield it.
You're right. How can we ever repay you for your guidance?
I need no payment. Magic sustains me, as it has sustained every keeper before me.
My dearest is right. You have a standing invitation to call on us should you ever want for anything.
The thought is kind and most appreciated. You know where to find me should you ever require the counsel of magic. Go now. You've a long journey ahead of you.
Thank you, Keeper. It is done. This is far from over, dearest. But for the moment, let us find our way to camp. We shall rest and hold each other tightly, both tonight and for the days to come. Dearest, what news? Stefan did not have to bear that burden for us. We should have been the ones to tell the Sephiran Council directly. Be that as it may, I don't want it to appear as though we're avoiding the Sephiran people. What was the Council's decision? Not angry? What do you mean they're not angry? If your people were suffering the same way ours were, then why were you not told right away? So, all along, the downturn of your kingdom's economy, the misfortune that repeatedly befell your family, that was all due to this imbalance. A side effect of magic being siphoned off. How odd. I didn't expect the positive effects to extend to Saphira. But you do not seem relieved. What is wrong? No, do not keep things from me. I can bear it. Whatever it is, we'll bear it together. What is it? Your uncle. Yes, I was aware that he carries the dragon magic. It is rare for 2 children in one family to carry it, but not unheard of. Why? I see. And he seeks to overthrow you because you gave up the Northern Dragon's future. How large a following has he amassed exactly? Do not fear, my love. Once we have faced the music here, then we can go back and begin working to reunite these factions. We will never be able to heal the wound completely, But if what your council says is true, most of your people will be grateful to you for restoring their livelihoods. That will count for more than you think. And Ambrose has shared several petitions from the territories bordering Saphira. We may be able to gain a stronghold there too. At the very least, he cannot turn more dragons to fight his cause. We have the upper hand, and we can drive them out if we must. Even if Zateron decides to take my crown, Saphira has announced its loyalty. We will make our home there if we must, but I don't think that will be necessary. 2 reasons. For one, the council is in a forgiving mood. They've permanently granted Lady Celeste a seat, regardless of her supporting her father in the past. Secondly, as queen, it's my duty to make difficult decisions. It's very clear now that this choice resulted in the least amount of bloodshed. Yes, the dragons are very vocal, and they have every right to be, but I have faith in my people. They will make the right decision, and we will abide by it. You mean what we talked about last night? No, not yet. I thought it best to wait for the council's decision before proceeding with that. I hope so too, but it's best not to mention it just yet.
Your Majesty? They're ready for you.
You've been in there the whole time?
Yes. Lady Celeste and Ambrose thought it would be important for me to experience a council meeting.
An excellent idea. Please lead the way.
Your Majesty, the Council has discussed the situation at length and has reached a decision. I have been nominated to relay that decision to you.
Very well.
We have decided that you shall remain our queen. We recognize that while you've dealt a blow to dragonkind, you've done it in the interest of all of your people. To have done the opposite would have been a betrayal. Therefore, we accept that your sacrifice was made in good faith and had an overall positive impact on the kingdom. Even now, our refugee camps are emptying, and citizens are returning to their villages. We will oversee the effort to rebuild, and I hope that we have your support.
Of course you do. We are grateful. So grateful. Now that the war is over, may I also hope that we can establish our formal alliance with Saphira, as is customary in unions such as ours.
Yes, our kingdom has only ever flourished from the tandem reign that is shared during a royal marriage. We hold every hope that this will continue.
This all sounds too good to be true. Surely there is some restriction, some punishment the council has determined to be necessary.
There is. We've decided that more decisions in the kingdom should be put to a vote, rather than unilaterally guided by a monarch. This is not due to your choice or your sacrifice, but because of the many disagreements that led to the imbalance in the first place. Therefore, fewer items will be in the hands of the monarchy, and will instead be decided here in the council room. You, of course, will be granted a seat, but your voice will be heard in turn with others. We will also add 2 more delegates from the common people.
I understand. That sounds like a good idea.
Furthermore, the Griffins will not let you take this blow alone. Your kind sacrificed everything to restore balance, even though we were also at fault for the chaos. Perhaps even more so. I swear to you, the next time a sacrifice must be made, it is the Griffins who will be bound to give up our power. Whether it be tomorrow or 100 years from now, we will answer the call.
It will mean the end of your kind. It will mean eventual extinction.
Then perhaps other shifter clans will remember our mistakes and build a better future. And on the topic of the future, there is one more thing. The matter of your heir.
We suspected this was coming. Restoring faith in the monarchy and giving the people a bright future could be helped along if we held to Zateron tradition and adopted a child.
We think so too. Traditionally, you'd be permitted to choose a child of your own without hindrance, but given the political tensions, We believe it would be best if the council officially endorsed your choice.
We have actually given this some thought. We were discussing this just last night, and we thought that we might adopt a grown child. It has been done before, after all.
I see where you're going with this. We have also had similar discussions, and I think that could be just the solution we need. Have you spoken to the child?
Not yet. We wanted to wait for this meeting before proceeding.
Then I believe I speak for the council when I say your choice is approved, if the child agrees.
Then we will speak to them and let you know soon. Is there anything else?
Only for you to lay forth any matters that we should discuss in our next council meeting.
We would like to immediately offer aid to Saphira. My spouse's claim to their throne was hard to win back, and we seek to restore peace there as we've done here. There is a particular threat from a branch of the family who carries the dragon blood and plans to overthrow the current rule.
Understood. We will discuss amongst ourselves and vote on a solution later this week. For now, though, let's adjourn. And for what it's worth, I would have done the same in your shoes.
Thank you for your support, Celeste. It means everything. I didn't expect that either. In truth, no. I know I should be disappointed, and perhaps I'm a little struck by just how much change will occur during my reign, but I've long thought that the people should have more power. Shifting many decisions to a council vote is an effective way to move in that direction. I only fear that I may become a bit redundant. As always, you are correct. Our experience will still be useful, and we have a lot of work to do. And, in truth, this will allow us to be emissaries to our own countries. It has been over 120 years since a marriage was in effect between Saphira and Citeron, and as Lady Celeste said, a tandem rule has always proven to be a boon to both countries involved. Advances in magic, science, and politics always spike during such an alliance, and the impact on the arts is unrivaled. It does affect much positive change, but it's not commonly done due to the impact on the couple themselves. Most of the time, a tandem rule results in a somewhat fractured marriage, due to the divided responsibility, of course. But in some cases, a great affection between the two monarchs is a positive example to everyone. With so much support from the council here and your brother in Saphira, I think we stand a chance to be a love story for the ages. I would like that very much. Oh, yes, we should. Where is she? Ah, Braylon? Braylon, would you join us?
Of course. Is something wrong?
No, not at all. It is only... We wanted to ask, are you happy here?
Yes?
Sorry, that was abrupt. I mean that I understand the pain you've endured, the loss, the suffering, all of the work you've done, and I know that you've never really known a moment's peace and that you often miss your family. I know that nothing can ever truly restore what you've lost, but taking all that into consideration, do you think you could be happy if you had a home here, forever?
I hadn't really thought about it. I've been so focused on helping to end the war and learning so much as I can. I suppose, yes, I am happy here. I'm learning so much, and I feel I can make more of a difference here. But I don't want to be a burden. I want to earn what I have.
My love is right. You could never be a burden to us. On the contrary, we are very fond of you. Not just for what you've done, but for who you are. We've been speaking about you, and you brighten our lives. We love spending time with you, and yes, they are always talking about how much they enjoy your walks together, and I look forward to our afternoon tea every single day. We want to spend more time with you. And if you truly wish to, as you say, earn your way, then I think we have a solution that will make all three of us very happy.
And what's that?
They're right. You do not have to answer now. We do not wish to put you on the spot. As you know, it is customary for the ruling monarchs to adopt a child as their own and raise them as the heir to the throne. What would you think about becoming our daughter?
What? Me?
Yes, you.
I don't know. I would love to be part of your family so much, but I'm not a princess. And I'm already a griffin. Won't that make people angry?
You not being a princess is exactly why you're the perfect candidate. The heir to the throne should always have a common background. And you being a griffin has no bearing here, as we can no longer turn people into dragons anyway. A change in ruling magic is overdue, if I'm being honest. And if you're worried about the humans disagreeing with your magic, then you don't need to be concerned. The heir to the throne is usually turned around the age of 10, but you were 13. If anything, you're even better suited to represent them because of it. That's correct, the people already love you. I have heard much light-hearted gossip about the young lady who single-handedly united the dragons and griffins to save her own people.
But I'm far older than you were when you were adopted. How could I ever catch up and do all of this the right way?
Catch up? You have already surpassed me in many ways. You're being trained in palace etiquette, magic, history, the arts, but even before you were a student of the crown, you risked everything in an attempt to save your people. None of us would be here today if you hadn't taken a chance and planned a clandestine meeting between myself and Lady Celeste. Your bravery may very well have saved not only Zateron, but also our allies in the north. There is only one possible heir who can unite the interests of the dragons, the griffins, and the humans. Only one person who properly represents the beating heart of Zateron itself. You.
Do you really think I can do it? Serve the realm as a princess and someday as a queen?
I've seen you do far more difficult things. You will have us both to guide you, and Lady Celeste and Ambrose, and I dare say the entire council. You've charmed all of them. They all have spoken to me about your resilience, your intelligence, your well-spoken manner, and your brilliant personality. But again, this is not about what we want or what the kingdom needs. This is about you. What do you want for yourself, Braylon? Take your time to consider whatever it is. We want to support you, even if your answer is no.
Yes!
Are you certain?
I've never been more sure of anything. Yes, yes, yes.
Come here. Oh, my heart is so full I could burst. No, I'm not asleep. Just taking in the night sky. How was your walk with Braylon? Good. Things worked out just right, I think. I'm glad to hear she's so happy. Don't rest on your laurels just yet. We have Saphira to sort out, and we must undertake the lifelong quest of parenting. Remind me to speak to General Xylan. They've raised no less than 11 children. I'm sure they could give us a few tips here and there. I hadn't yet, no. I thought perhaps I'd let you take the lead in Saphira, as you've let me do in Zateron. Well, go on, tell me. I can tell when you're cooking something up. Share it with me. I think you're right to focus your attention on the common people. Outright war with your uncle's family doesn't seem prudent, but protecting the palace and villages nearest him does indeed. No, on the contrary, I think you should agree to meet with the neighbouring territories that have written. Weak? Of course it doesn't make you seem weak. They want an alliance. They offer different things. Crops, mines, rich forest land, all of which could benefit Saphira, and in exchange they'd have the city's trading port. They'd have buyers of goods. They'd have the academy. They'd have a direct line to Zateron for as long as we both live. Saphira and its neighbours could become one beautifully functioning kingdom. Imagine the Saphiran territories. That could come to pass under your rule. And they will lend their strength to us. You needn't worry about your uncle. I'm sure we'll be able to quell him. All right, well, suppose we don't succeed at diplomacy with him. With the gathered strength of Saphira and Zateron, how much of a threat does he actually pose to us? Exactly. So, by that logic, we're far more likely to drive him and his supporters away than to engage in warfare with them. So where would they run to if they were driven out? The wastes are called so for a reason, dearest. He and his family may live there and may survive there, but thrive? There is nothing to thrive with. Even if every one of his children bore a natural dragon, it would be only a few hundred years at most before they died off. In the wastes, they would have very little to build an army with, even if the desire for vengeance ran strong through his descendants. Perhaps they could unite some of the Hessaran tribes, but they rarely march under a banner. Yes, you're right, they may last longer than we will. And it's true, from their line, they may bear the last dragon in existence. But if that last dragon did someday return to Saphira and declare themselves the new dragon king or queen, they would be met with a world changed. A Saphira united, stronger, ready to defend its citizens against all threats. They may put up a fight, but I cannot imagine they would emerge victorious and claim the throne in the end. Not if we build in Saphira a legacy of something worth fighting for. Something that outlives us. Enough worrying, dearest. There will be plenty of time for that in days to come. For now, just join me. How long has it been since we just relaxed together like this? Of course. You know I can never stop thinking. I'm not worrying. Just pondering. Magic. And how it will change. What the Academy said about its future and how we will use it going forward. I know that we know better now. Already the different shifter clans are planning ways to ensure they don't exceed their fair share, and even if they changed a few folks outside of their own lines, they could theoretically sustain magic for generations. But if regular humans and mages are to exist, whether gifted or not, they will naturally proliferate. And as the population grows, if we continue to moderate and avoid overuse, it stands to reason that magic will naturally wane. Magic will become diluted for most people. In a way, it could be a gift, I suppose. Well, take Ambrose, for instance. He's not a mage, he doesn't possess incredible magic ability of any particular kind, but he does have the ability to generate a ball of light, to enchant a quill to take notes for him, to summon small items to himself if they're nearby and in his line of sight. Suppose that diluted even further. Instead of one person carrying all those traits, he might have 3 grandchildren, one of whom can always remember the tiniest details of any conversation, one who seems to light up a room with their presence, one who never loses anything. They always keep track of every personal item. None of those appear to be magic in action, but they are magic just the same. Or take the mages at the academy. Perhaps one day they will not use magic to run our world, but invention. Our future witches may not be able to summon magic with a thought, the way they do now. They may have to call upon it with words to strengthen that connection. To go even further, what if there is no outward appearance of magic at all in their process, but their potions and concoctions heal and nourish the body as effectively as before? I don't see any other way. As I've said, the population only grows, generation after generation. Magic is already on the path to weakening in the individual and manifesting itself differently, spreading itself more thinly. Eventually, I don't know if gone forever is how I'd describe it. As I said, many shifter clans are already working on a plan for sustainability, so the issue would lie in the other parts of the population. Magic would be fragmented, but the pieces would still be there, wouldn't they? The essence of magic wouldn't just vanish. Oh, it would take several hundred years to get to that point, I think. Probably 1,000. Imagine, though, if there were more who dreamed like us, if they figured it out, if they combined all the fragments back together again someday. They could destroy the world. That much power could do a lot of damage. Or they could spend it all on one spectacular achievement. They could voyage through the stars if they wanted. In any case, we've given them that chance. We've given them a tomorrow so they can make the choice for themselves. Our descendants, Braelen's descendants, will shape the world, or even the worlds beyond, as they see fit. It doesn't matter if our memory is lost to time, dearest. We can love and appreciate each other every day. And as for our memory, the gift of tomorrow is still a gift, even when tomorrow has passed. That action, that love, will echo through eternity, as will my love for you. After all, someday, someone may tell our story. Well, I should like for them to say how breathtakingly wonderful you are, and that you kissed me well and often. And I hope they would say that despite meager, desperate beginnings in a freezing cave, we built a beautiful life together. One that changed the world and changed us.